38.
40.
What happened to 38? Did we do 38? Are you sure you
is
didn't
it published?
skip one? I feel like you. I feel like every week you skip one.
No, 38's up.
Are we running 2 behind? 38's up? 39's up?
39 is going up today.
To
Where at?
Patreon.
Yes.
To Patreon. I'm sorry, for everybody who's following on YouTube, we're gonna skip one because I was
It's a bureaucracy.
I was speaking some truths, and YouTube doesn't like the truth, so we had to put it on Patreon. We had to put it on Patreon.
I'm down. Like ICP. You like ICP?
What kind of ice cream is that? Is that
do
Neapolitan?
you know what it is?
Is that Neapolitan or is that?
Why don't you smell? Are you wearing cologne?
No, come on.
What are you wearing?
Deodorant, like most normal human beings.
Does it have pheromones in it?
Maybe. I'm trying to attract Brandel.
Or wild animals fucking approaching you while you're on the drive here?
Mosquitoes.
Mosquitoes.
Goddamn
Did you ride your Super 73 here?
I did not, but I have been riding the hell out of it. I love it.
If you could get multiple military vehicles,
Multiple.
what should be your first military vehicle purchase?
My first, let's say I had some money right now, like
M1 Abrams.
no. I would buy a LMTV.
Okay.
I know I'm using the wrong acronym, but the 4-wheel, not the 6-wheel.
Cool thing about that is it has giant tires, but the cool thing is it has a fucking crane. It unloads the tire for you.
LMTV, then a 5-ton, then maybe a Humvee, then an Abrams.
How are you going to move the Abrams? With a train?
I mean,
can we move Abrams on a? Is there a truck? Can they take them down the road?
There is a truck. Those trucks are currently for sale. You can find them. Huge trucks, like they're just monsters of a beast.
So we can't put it like if something carries a Komatsu 320, we can't put a tank on that, like on Jack's Low Boy.
I mean, I don't think so. I don't think so.
It'd probably
maybe
be cheaper to have a spur line brought onto your property for dropping your
for a spur line. I mean, if we're going to get multiple tanks, Elon Electric.
So Elon's suing the
as he should.
Yeah.
As he should. The federal government is trying to
Hold on a second. Hold on. Let's do this.
Wait.
Okay.
As he should. The federal government is trying to force him to hire illegal immigrants?
Oh, no, it's better than that. He's going after the Anti-Defamation League or whatever.
Whatever.
So,
go after him.
So they started saying some shit, and he's like, oh, it's going to be very interesting to read the ADL files or whatever it is. Like, he's like, I'll just put out all the fucking shit. So they've gotten busted out. It's the Anti-Defamation League, right? It's the it's basically a Jewish organization that's against anti-Semitic. Is that what that is?
Yeah, anti-Semitic, yeah.
So they've been busted out. A lot of these hate groups, they're actually sending their own guys out as actors to act as though they are hate groups.
Well, that's the problem with that organization.
Yeah, they're not.
First off, if you're going to pay an organization to go after hate groups that has been around for 30 years and hate groups are only getting bigger and bigger, what that's telling you is either one of two things. They're cooking the books in order to get people to pay them more money, or they are completely ineffective and you shouldn't be giving them any money. Well, it's a fuck show.
There is not a hate group out there protesting. The hate group protesting is, in fact, those people.
Wait. Speaking of the hate group protesters.
Yes, I saw it.
You
mean all the FBI agents?
Did you see
all the federal agents?
Did you see the 12 Nazis in Florida who were protesting?
Did you see the one dude that was like, he had been arrested. I guess he had been in prison, got out, fled to Ukraine, was a Ukraine fighter, came back, and he's all fucking, not only is he a Nazi, he's got a big swastika tattoo and shit. He's pro Biden.
Yeah, he's pro Joe Biden because Joe Biden is giving rockets to the Ukrainians.
Yeah.
Which tells you what? It's just, again.
And he's like, he was over there with Azov or whatever.
Again, as a as an official organization, right? So when we're talking about, white supremacy or neo-Nazis or the Ku Klux Klan or anything, as an organization, as organizations that have any effect on the United States of America, these organizations don't exist. They're not real. It's just a bunch of fucking dumbasses that are running around trying to get attention. And so when you have the federal government who says that's the biggest
threat
to democracy in the United States, it's a fucking lie.
Keep in mind, guys,
sideshow.
You don't want democracy. That's not.
That's the last thing you want is democracy.
We as Americans, democracy is not in our interest.
But again, when you have white supremacists getting off U-Haul trucks and being escorted by police, when you have white supremacists
through the fucking subway system, they closed it down for those
the subway
guys.
system so they can go. That's federal agents, guys. It's 100% federal agents. When you have people being arrested, shown being arrested by police, and they are allowed to keep their masks on while they're arrested, that's federal agents. This is all psyops. This is all bullshit to get you to think that there is some sort of Aryan nation takeover of the United States. It's all bullshit.
We get one that shows up every couple nights on the YouTube live that I do. There's always a dude on there saying some. We ban him. He always comes back, and then we get these poets. Like they're always like, I'm like, is that haiku? Like I don't understand what you're trying to tell me.
I mean, the reality is, hey, next time you see a march of neo-Nazis with flags, and they're all wearing face masks, go and hit them with baseball bats. I promise you, you're going to be in court for assaulting a police officer. Period. End of discussion. That's what you're going to be in court for, because those are all cops. Real neo-Nazis don't give a shit if you see their face. So all these little sideshows that the federal government is doing right now in order to scare you into believing that there's some fucking Nazi tide washing over America is just bullshit.
And I don't know this. I'm sure somebody's going to jump on here pretty quick when you read the comments on this. AB, Aryan Brotherhood, is that?
It's real.
No, I know they're real. We had
real.
them in prison, right? But they're skinheads, right?
Yeah, skinheads.
Or some. They don't skin their heads anymore for
Right.
a lot. But that Nazis.
It just depends on where you're at and what rhetoric you need to be told, right? The Aryan Brotherhood is supposed to be Nazis, but again, the Aryan Brotherhood really only shines in prison because of the problems that are associated with prison, right? You have to be part of your specific culture in order to survive. So it's not a real, like, again, even the Aryan Brotherhood, which is probably, like, if you think about Nazi organizations or people that are pretending to be Nazis. There are no more Nazis.
Well, there are in East Tennessee.
There's no more Nazis, even in East Tennessee. These are people who are pretending to be Nazis. Nazi socialism died in Germany in World War II. They're pretending to be Nazis. They're waving a flag because they think it makes them cool, but it's still pretend. It's not a real movement. They're not taking up arms against the United States or wherever. They're not doing it.
Correct.
So it's just bullshit. It's just them waving flags. It's giving them an opportunity to have really terrible music that they listen to.
Who does?
The Aryan Brotherhood and the people who.
I thought they listen to punk.
Terrible music.
Or ska.
Terrible.
What is ska music?
Like horn, trumpet, punk.
That's ska?
But there's also sharps.
What's that?
Skinheads against racism. Like
Yeah.
racial prejudice. It's a sharp is like they look like skinheads, but they do the opposite of a skinhead.
Yeah. It's just teenagers.
Do they commit crimes?
Against skinheads, they like find them and beat them up.
How do you look like a skinhead and then go find skinheads to beat up skinheads?
They're usually wearing a shirt of a band or something.
So what was a mod? Did you have mods when you were in school?
Yeah, mods are like the 70s kind of guys, or like.
Wasn't that? I thought a mod was kind of like a shaved head, looks kind of skinheadish, has the laced up Doc Martens, usually has a bomber jacket and a Vespa. Listen to a lot of Duran Duran.
It's kind of like a mix of all of it right there.
That was our time.
There was this girl named Michelle, and she was the hottest thing in I don't know what class it was, but she kind of hung out with them dudes.
Yeah. We had some mods at Santana. Foxtails on their thing.
On their antennas,
like
on their
cruising
Vespa.
around town like a Hell's Angel group, but on Vespas. I don't understand how you can take Vespa guys seriously, but again, same thing.
I never looked at a pair of Doc Martens and thought, I want to put those on my feet.
I like them.
Do you?
Yeah.
Like, I like them on chicks. I mean, you can wear them, but I don't look at that and think.
Does that make me feel like a
I don't put that. I don't look at those and go, those look really. I think I could run really fast with those on.
That's an interesting way to put that, Brandel.
What did you say?
You said, "Does it make me feel like a chick?" Oh, you were the only one that could answer that question. John was merely saying that you'll look like a chick if you put them on. So interesting. Does it make?
I said I like them.
Do they make when you put your Doc Martens on? Do they make you feel sexy?
I feel
sassy.
like
Sassy,
I feel like I pay for a pair of Doc Martens every year, but I don't ever see Amanda wear the Doc Martens.
I do believe that I have seen her wear them once.
Yeah, I think it's too much time to put them on.
I do believe. So when you're,
I don't have 5 minutes to put on a pair of shoes.
Brandel, when you're wearing your Doc Martens, do you change the color of the laces?
I thought if once you kill somebody, it's red laces.
No, it can't be true. I mean, that might be some sort of lore, but it's like red laces.
I think red laces signified like racist skinhead, and yellow laces were like sharps.
I thought it was I thought white meant you were like a prospect, and red meant like have to be jumped in. Do you not have to be jumped in?
I don't know.
And if you're a chick, like you have to fuck all the dudes in the crew.
Yeah,
and then I thought the red laces meant that you had killed somebody.
Maybe.
Man,
No.
I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of dudes
Yeah,
fucking that know exactly.
There's going to be a bunch of skinheads on here like, white power, white. It's like, hey, you guys are dumb. You're just dumb. You're dumb. If you're in your basement underneath your swastika flag, dreaming of some sort of white utopia, you need to move to Europe.
I don't think they're there, man.
Where?
I don't think there's like a whole crew. I mean, maybe
again,
like out in West Virginia.
I know this is going to be controversial, and I know people are going to be like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you said that, Scully." But those groups, it doesn't matter whether you're blood, a Crip, Aryan Nation, whatever. Those groups only exist because of the shortfalls of society. You have young men that are looking. You have young men who are looking to belong and be part of something.
Yes.
So it doesn't matter if, it could be, I don't know, if she was gangster enough, it could be the Oprah Winfrey Hawaiian Death Squad. If she was gangster enough and made it appealing, young men would join that organization because they want that camaraderie. They want to be together. And as a society, we fail horribly right now, especially now. We are failing horribly in taking care of our young men, giving them purpose. And because we don't give them purpose, then it's easy for some, dumbass that's spouting ignorant things
to magnetize them
and get them to come together over a common theme. When we could be doing that, the reality is we could be doing that with the Boy Scouts. We could be doing that with national service, but we're not. What we're doing is we're telling a whole generation, probably for the last couple of generations, that you don't matter. You take a backseat to everything else. And, male in itself is toxic. Well, all you're going to do is create a bunch of individuals. By doing that, is create a bunch of individuals that are going to search out for something that makes them belong.
Frisella was Andy Frisella was talking about that. He said, all these women are running around saying there's no good men, there's no men. And he's like,
They created it.
You motherfuckers spent the last 10
Yep.
years telling them that they were toxic.
They've
And now
created
you've got all these demasculated men and you don't want to be with them. That's why these dating apps, you motherfuckers are using these dating apps and you're going out and giving some pussy to a dude hoping he'll fall in love, and he's leaving your house and going and banging 4 more chicks that are doing the same thing that night. The alpha dude gets any mate he wants, and you are out there looking for a mate that does not exist that wants to be with you.
Did you see the there's this, it's not a TikTok, it's on YouTube, but it's this group anyways, they go to college campuses and they talk about dating, and they go and find liberal women, and they're like, yeah, the only good men are Republicans.
Yep.
It's because there's a certain sense of value there. There's a certain sense of morality there where, the problem is if you're looking in the liberal world, you're not going to find value. It's just not there.
There's some data compilation. TRT has become more readily available, right? Used to be steroids, or you had to go to like the Life Extension Clinic in Palm Springs, so you had to have some money, right, to be able to do that. And now it's more readily available. You can get TRT like you can go to a damn check cashing place now. Now, guys, be aware of that when you go to those places, or you go to I go to my general practitioner. If your doctor's trying to give you testosterone once a month, fucking run as fast as you can. It's going to completely fuck you up. If they're trying to give it to you every other week, it's also going to fuck you up. Like, you're going to have huge spikes in estrogen and you're going to be very unstable. And if your doctor, here's another clue. If your doctor tells you what your test number is, there's 2 numbers. If your doctor doesn't know that and doesn't provide 2 separate numbers, find a person that is more like in that field, right? So there's some data compilation now, because TRT has really been out there for probably a decade now, like readily available. And they're showing that Democrats who are getting on TRT are converting to Republicans.
Yes, with lower testosterone, you're more likely to
demasculated. Yep,
you're more likely to be a Democrat, and that's kind of the way the food industry has been pushing everything, anyways.
I wanted to discuss that. So the Food and Drug Administration, right, the governing body that decides what we as Americans should be able to put in our bodies or not put in our bodies. At this point, does anybody really believe that the FDA is for the people and not just some governing agency that's really for the elites?
Well, the problem with the problem with those organizations, is the question would be, is the FDA as an organization directly trying to poison Americans? You could say yes, that they are directly trying to poison Americans, but what I'm going to say is, they're not directly trying to poison Americans. What they are doing is taking money in order to approve certain things. So the more money you have, the more likely your thing's going to get approved. And unfortunately, the food system that we have set up is the less nutrient dense a food is, the less good the food is for you, the cheaper it is. And because it's cheaper, the corporations are going to push that, and they're going to push that. And, for example, saccharin and all the bullshit's in here. It's cheaper than sugar. Because it's cheaper than sugar, I'm going to pay the FDA. I'm going to be like, hey, we did a test, and the test kind of worked. Here's the $1 million you're asking for in order to get this approved, and then it gets approved. It's not necessarily, it's not necessarily that the FDA is evil. It's just money is the root of all evil.
All of your high up people at the FDA cycle in and out.
Yeah, they cycle in and out of those
pharmaceutical companies.
Out of those corporations.
Same with the CDC.
It's why. You think about it. You have all these people right now that are up in arms about global warming and cow farts,
which has nothing to do with the environment. It's all about ESG. Why do we have all the gay stuff in the fucking?
It's all about
global warming,
transferring wealth. But again, I can get a processed hamburger bun.
which is all sugar.
a processed hamburger bun, a processed hamburger meat patty. I can get that and eat that for cheaper than a cup of fruit. Now, it's less expensive to make a cup of fruit than it is to process the hamburger patty and the hamburger bun, but I can still get that hamburger patty and bun for cheaper than a cup of fruit. That's
So some would argue now there'd be a little pushback on that comment right there. And I say that because our buddy owns a meat processing place here, right? They bring live cows in and they hang them and turn them into steaks and shit. The hamburger, because somebody had just commented, they're doing a box, and it's an FDA certified. It has to be, you know, because they're selling to the public. But it's a $500 box, $700 box. And some lady was like, "Smack my head, poor people can't afford that." And I said, "Well, poor people aren't supposed to afford that. You can go to Walmart and buy all the Nigerian fucking meat you want." But Amanda pointed out that with the hamburger that comes in there and buying hamburger, just the hamburger prices they have over there, when you buy bulk hamburger from the meat market, it is actually cheaper per pound than buying at Walmart where you would normally buy it. You just have to buy more of it.
well, because you're taking out when you
the middleman.
when you buy direct, you're actually taking out the middleman. So
So it is doable, right? We went to, I think I said this a week or two ago. We went to a clown food place, you know, drive-through, Burger King, and it was $35.
yeah,
And I'm like, "What did you get?" She got, I believe it was onion rings and 2 of whatever their super duper burgers were. It might have been around $30 or something.
yeah, no, that's it.
But
It
that-
is. The
Dude,
price-
we can go buy. Well, I don't know. I haven't gone and bought. I have freezers full of meat here. Have you seen all the Walmart videos of dudes buying T-bones from Walmart? And they're like, "Look at this," and they're like picking the meat apart. It's just like you can just pull it off. It's not one piece of meat. It is almost like they took and used the pink slime shit. Is I think what the videos were getting at. But you can take the meat and it just comes off.
Well, the push, the push from industry
3D printed meat shit.
is the push from industry is, the fake meat. And again, I'm going to tell you this. You can believe it or not. It has nothing, not a single thing to do with the environment. Nothing. Fake meat does not have to do with the environment. Fake meat has to do with bottom line. It is almost 60% cheaper for them to produce fake meat than to produce real meat. That's why they're making it. They're not making it for any health benefits. They're not making it to save the planet. They're making it because it's cheap. And here's the other thing that I'm going to tell you. They're going to tout that it's environmentally friendly, but there's not a single thing that we as human beings create from nothing that is not damaging to the environment. So it's a lie. The chemicals that are going to be coming out of out of those meat production plants are going to be more deadly than anything that comes off a cow. It's all a lie. So again, if you're foolish and you're going to eat that shit, you're poisoning yourself, but you are poisoning the planet.
Did you see Bill Gates' new venture?
What is he doing?
So, and it seemed like
Blue roofs for all his friends.
It seemed like a low number. They've got a couple $1 million that are already in this program, but they're buying up U.S. forest land.
Okay.
And they're cutting down all of the timber.
Okay.
And burying it. They said that it will sequester the carbon and blah blah blah, but that's the push right now. Basically, they're buying up all this fucking property. I also heard today, BlackRock, State Street, you know the Big Five, whatever. They're actually they all own each other, and it is stated right now that over 60% of real estate. 60% of residential real estate in the United States is owned and held by those 5 companies. And their goal is to own 90% of it by 2030.
Most people don't know that there's a government push right now for government-owned property. So the government is going to try and buy up, I think...
Which is part of the default, right?
I think by 15...
We're raising the interest rate so rapidly, and people are not able to keep up with the inflation. They're actually about to... And then also the all that student loan debt right now, that there people are starting to have to repay at a higher interest rate now. It is said that a lot of the co-signers, their parents actually co-signed a lot of those
Yes.
loans. So
Will
when
lose
these
their
kids
houses.
default, those parents are going to end up losing
Losing
those
their-
houses. Well, who's going to end up with them?
Well, it's the federal government. I think by 20. I think it was 2025. The federal government is supposed to own 30% of all the land in America, and then by somewhere like 2020, like 2045, they're supposed to own 50% of all the land in America. So that is that agenda. When you think about what they've been talking about pushing everybody into the cities and creating these spaces where no one's allowed to go. Again, remember that's 100% a lie. So when they say, hey, in order to save the fucking wild buffalo, no one's allowed to go to Yosemite anymore. We don't want tourists to get killed by buffalo anymore, so we're closing the park forever. That's not what they're doing. What they're doing is they're closing the park for you.
Yep.
Bill Gates is still going to ski or chateau in wherever he wants. The rich people are still going to get. What they're doing is they're trying to exclude you from those places. So again, this whole idea, this whole utopia idea that the Democratic Party has, it ends in a nightmare, guys. It ends in a concentration camp. That's where it ends, 100%.
So there's actually a lot of people saying that. That's Frisella's thing. He's like, if we don't win this election, and that's where he says, if we don't win this election, it's over. Like if they're able to do this to a president, they've already cataloged you. They're going to group you, and they're going to take all those people who just. I mean, they're literally arresting people like the Proud Boy guy, right?
Yeah.
They just put the Proud Boy guy. They're giving him 30 years
Yes.
in prison for some communication
Yeah.
through text messaging to some people that
By
he
the
wasn't
way,
even present. There was actually a restraining order against him. He was not able to actually be in Washington D.C.
By the way, the Democrat individuals who planned and took a bomb into the Capitol and blew it up, they didn't get 30 years. As a matter of fact, some of those
Clinton
individuals
pardoned her.
Some of those individuals are currently working for the Democratic Party.
That was the Weather Underground.
It's just a fucking lie that you're being told. There's nothing that happened on January 6th that requires any time in prison. As a matter of fact, your liberal bullshit Democratic your Democratic Party actually destroyed all the records from January 6th. Just by them doing that, just by them shredding all the records from January 6th, everybody that's in prison should be let out now, because those are political prisoners. Not a single one of those individuals are in there for a crime being committed. They're in there as political prisoners, as pawns.
Now, I would think that if Trump was reelected, he would automatically release all those people. I would think.
Maybe,
I also would have thought that he would have released Julian Assange.
We are winning the next election.
And the Dread Pirate Scott, he should be out.
Trump is going to win the next election. Vicarious or Vicus,
Because they're going to try to kill him.
Vicarious or Vicus or Valavuhu, whatever the
Vivek,
vice
president,
who is the front runner for the Republicans, is going to be the vice president, unless.
So he had some interest. Have you heard any of the interviews in the last couple of days with him?
Not in the last couple of days. The only interesting thing is if Trump actually sees the move and does not take him as vice president. But the reality is the deep state wants Trump to be elected. They're going to assassinate him. He will be killed. During this presidency. And then they are going to institute War Powers Acts. They're going to suspend the Constitution, and we're going to be in a civil war.
But if Vivek is vice president, he will take over president.
Yes.
And I think he's almost more pro-U.S. from what he's saying than Trump is.
Okay. Here's the problem with that guy. The problem with that guy is he is Silicon Valley. He is real Silicon Valley. He is part of the liberal establishment that has put us in this place that it is. It's the minds of Silicon Valley that have actually helped destroy this country. He's part of that establishment. Now, he is saying everything.
So did you hear people?
But he's saying everything that Trump says. He's saying everything that Trump says and more.
Well, he's saying get rid of 75% of government.
Yeah, he's saying that.
And when you can't fire those people, but what you can do is defund
them. He is saying that. He's saying all that stuff. But you know what is true about him that has not been true about anybody on the right since Silicon Valley has existed? He has not been deplatformed on any platforms. He has not been deplatformed on NBC News. He's not been deplatformed on MSNBC.
And that's because he's a black guy.
He has not been deplatformed. No, he's not.
Whatever.
He's not been deplatformed anywhere. No one is deplatforming him.
He's OTW. Other than white.
He has not been deplatformed, and the reason why he's not been deplatformed is because he is part of that machine.
So you hear people say he was a young World Economic Forum leader.
Yeah.
You know, he sued.
I know he sued them.
And made it so they could not just put that on and nominate people for that?
He has to. He had to do that. The reason why he had to do that is because that was one of those things that people brought up. Mm-hmm. They were like, hey.
He did. He had a 30-minute answer for it.
You're part of this. George Soros, he's soft linked to all these things, right? But the more important thing is, when you think about, don't listen to the rhetoric that he's telling you right now. Just use the Wayback Machine and look at what his stance was pre-COVID. He's a fucking Democrat. He's a Democrat. He was for masks. He was for lockdowns. He was for all that shit. But now he's telling everybody what they want to hear. That's all he's doing. He's smart enough to be able to take a poll or to be able to look at America and go, holy shit, America is really red. America really, is really red. These are the things that I have to say in order to take power.
So you think that's the plan?
Fuck yeah, I think that's the plan.
So is he the Antichrist?
Why? The question would be, is he the Antichrist or is Trump the Antichrist? Does Trump
unite the
Does Trump does the permanent government attempt to assassinate Trump, shoot him, and he survives? Because that's
what the Antichrist
That's
would
the
do.
Antichrist, right? So does Trump become the Antichrist? I don't know. Who knows? This is we're getting into.
Tucker Carlson said they're going to assassinate Trump.
Yeah, they have to. They have to, because they are those organizations, the FBI, the CIA, they have become polluted with politics. They have been polluted with politics. All those organizations have been using their full power that they have against him politically. So what do you think is going to happen if he does get elected president? Those organizations are going to get fucking decimated.
Yeah, I would hope that he hangs some people.
No, he's not going to hang anybody.
Well, they've committed hanging offenses.
He's not going to. Yeah, they have. They have. He's not going to.
Okay, so you've seen all the
survive it.
Have you noticed in the last 48 hours, all these governments are coming out saying that they didn't mandate vaccination and everybody took them on their own? Have you seen all that?
Yeah.
Right. So
it's called gaslighting, guys.
So the thought was, because they're going to try to push all these damages. So the numbers are out.
Yeah.
You have like a 48% death rate on some of this stuff.
Jill Biden.
Yeah, has COVID right now.
Super vaxxed. She is super vaxxed. She's had COVID 3 times already.
So the numbers came from Bet David. He was talking about it and cited these studies. But you have 48% mortality rates within some of these, like young people, you had 48% mortality rates within like 3 days of receiving. If
you're interested in real numbers, go ahead and take a look at the NFL. Take a look at the NFL death rates prior to COVID, and now take a look at the NFL death rates now. They've almost tripled. And the NFL was they mandated that those guys get the shots. So
look at the DOD numbers on pregnancy, full term to birth. They said it was 70% miscarriage rates, I believe it was.
Yes, the numbers are not, again, the shot at best. So let's just say at best. Let's say you're a lunatic liberal Democrat. At best, the shots were 100% ineffective. Let's say your government had your best interests in mind, and they were only trying to do what they could to save lives, but the shot was just ineffective. It wasn't capable of doing it because it didn't do anything. Nobody was saved by the fucking shot. Oh God, we're gonna get demonetized again.
We're just gonna have to beep out every time he says shot.
We're gonna get demonetized. God damn it. At worst, you had a conspiracy within the government to create a long-term health crisis that ended up in a large amount of people dying.
Yet they're going to try to push it again.
No, I think. My biggest fear is this. My biggest fear is, the elites, the uber elites, are smarter than we think they are. In my opinion, does Carl Schwab get along with Bill Gates? Probably not. Does George Soros and Bill Gates hang out? Nah, I am sure that all these people, while they want to go to Monaco and sit on the beach alone, I'm sure they all have that thought in their head that they want their children to be able to frolic through the Garden of Eden that they create by killing off half the planet. I'm sure that's in their idea, but I'm sure they all secretly hate each other. So I'm hoping that is what keeps them from being able to do all this. But again, that's their goal. Their goal is not to make a better world for you and me. It's to make a better world for them.
So jumping back before I forget this, the FDA thing.
Yeah.
I think that your enforcement officers at the enforcement level of the FDA, the investigators, inspectors, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that when they go out and they're like, we need to look at all your freezers and inspect your meat. And old Amos is like, no, you can't come in. It is now their personal vendetta to ruin those people. Like you just had this Amish farmer.
Yes.
They came in and they're like, you can't.
Oh yeah, you're not above, you can't.
So they actually came in with rider trucks and guns at gunpoint, took all the meat, took everything out of all of his freezers. And I guess there was a dozen freezers or so, took it all, wouldn't let him feed it to the dogs, wouldn't let him feed it to his family, took it and put it in the dump. Because they're like, you have these enforcement people, when you tell them no, it enrages them. And now they are going to do everything they can to ruin you. So speaking also of the EPA, you're aware of Berkey water filters?
Yes.
Have you seen, there's a bunch of stuff going around. How come nothing's in stock at BerkeyWaterFilters.com or Berkey.com? So they actually, their law firm put this out. So Berkey has been claiming that it removes bacteria from the water, which clearly it does, right? If you look at water out of a pond, you see stuff moving around in it, and when you run it through the Berkey water filter, you have clean water. There's all kinds of. Go ahead. What?
Are you drinking your pond water through your Berkey filter?
Of course I am.
You know it's going to clog those filters up a lot faster.
Of course it is.
Okay,
you gotta test it. You gotta know what we're doing. So
I thought I tasted a hint of greens. You know what I'm saying?
So the
Mossy.
EPA came out and said, "Oh, Berkey, you're saying that this removes bacteria. So in effect, you are classifying. We need to classify these filters as pesticides." So they now have to do all this bullshit, and the FDA has served Berkey with a cease sales.
Yeah.
Yep, you can't sell any of your shit. So apparently this has been going on for about 2 months. It hit the public really big yesterday, day before, and it's all over social media now. Just kind of insane.
I don't know about Berkey.
Okay.
And the only reason why I say this is because I get it. Sometimes people want to middle finger the government, but there are a lot there are a lot of pro and a lot of con videos of people testing the water and the Berkey filter not being able to filter the things it says it can filter.
So I've seen maybe a dozen of those.
Yeah.
And every time I see those, it goes at all points. You see a lot of people doing reaction and remake videos, all based off of one dude's videos. And what does he have? He has some other company that you've never heard of, who he says is better. Like that's always the push.
The one thing that I see is, again, this could be Berkey trying to middle finger the government, or again, it could be a company that solely relies on water filter systems to make their bottom line, and they're going to do it as cheaply as possible. They won't ASA certify their filters. Their excuse is it costs too much money to do that. Other companies have actually got their filters ASAI certified, to the point where you can go on and get ASAI certified water filters for Berkey filters.
So you can, if you own a Berkey water filter, you can take water right out of your spigot. You can buy a water test from Amazon. They'll mail you all the shit. You put your little drops of water in and you mail it out to an independent laboratory. You can also do it through your co-op. You can do it through, almost every college can do it. Every college chemistry class or ag class will have the ability to do this also. So we can find out for ourselves. I mean, I've had this conversation a dozen times probably, and I still haven't sent my water off to be tested. I know that you get your well water tested once a year.
Yeah.
I know we've had that conversation before, so it's definitely doable.
Yeah, it's 100% doable.
Now,
I'm not. My thing is, again, don't take what I'm saying as gospel, because I'm not invested one way or the other. Like, I think that any company, forget that I mentioned Berkey, it could be Pure Flow or one of those other filters. Any company that has super claims of being able to, take Uranus out of the water, any of those companies, you should check, you should verify, right? You need to verify that it's actually doing the thing that it's doing. And like John said, the cool thing about water is there's a ton of places that will test the water. And again, it can be so independent, meaning, for example, we get our well water tested every year. When I take the water to the place, they're not like, where'd this come from? Like, I could take city water, I could take whatever. So there's nothing, meaning if I took Berkey water, if I used my Berkey, filtered that water and took it in, they'd just be like, yeah, there's cow poop in your water or whatever.
you should take them pee.
No, I don't want them to, because they're going to be like, this is pure Pepsi. What are you doing, boy? What's going on? Almost caught on fire. So, I mean, that's the cool thing about water filters is you can get that water tested. And then the other thing too is, again, a filter is one of those things that you've got to change it. You got to, it has a life cycle no matter what. So
the Berkey filters should slow down, right? They don't
most filters will.
They
most
don't
filters
cease
will
to
slow
work.
down.
They just develop like a slime on the
Yeah.
outside, and you're supposed to use like a pad and a scouring pad and just clean them off, and then they function again. But what I think we're going to do is move to a reverse osmosis, not remove the Berkey, but move to a reverse osmosis system, run a 4,000 gallon tank, which water collects off the roof and then runs through, because that's how TAG does it, Life Done Free. What?
Who's our Canadian Asian gymnast?
You talking about Ninja Dave?
Yes.
Yes. He has a reverse osmosis
He's
system.
got a reverse, but his because I really want to put really want to get the one he has and put it in the house.
Okay.
Because his system reverse osmosis, but it also puts minerals back into the remineralize it, so
So that's
You know,
just
you're
another.
not-
You have these big. It looks like a water softener thing, and then it's got these membrane filters in there. But one of those is at the back end is the remineralizer.
Yeah,
So it puts
remineralizer.
your Flintstone vitamin.
I feel like, and maybe it's just because maybe it's just because he's our Canadian Asian.
Well, he does look like a specimen of
Yeah,
peak physical condition.
No, I feel like if I was to climb a mountain,
you would run into him
up
there.
to the snow peak. I'm up at the snow peak. There would be like this little shed, right? A little wood shed with a very tiny fire, and he would be sitting there cross-legged, and he'd be like, "This is the filter you need to get, my son." And that's the filter I would have to get.
I feel like he's
that's
probably
what-
been with the monks at the monastery.
That's what I'm
in
saying.
Tibet.
I'm feeling.
You know
like
Dave, don't you? Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that he is. He's definitely.
He is not. I can tell you, he is not the Yesu radio whisperer.
He is not.
He is not.
That's too bad.
So he's like, "Hey, I'm working at this place and I want to sell these radios." I'm like, he's like, "I want your radio kits." I'm like, "I don't do the radios. That's Evan." So I put him with Evan, and Evan's like, he's going to talk to Yesu. I go, "How's that going to go?" He goes, "I don't know. I hope he can do something with him." He said, "I couldn't get him to do shit." So Dave comes back a couple hours later. He's like, "I've been on the phone for 3 hours." Yeah, they won't do shit. Like Yesu doesn't do shit.
Don't they know who he is?
Apparently they don't.
I mean, I don't. Again, I
Movie
feel like,
star, international
Yeah.
man of mystery,
I feel like
GQ,
like what's that? The Kubitai?
Kumite,
The Kubitai, is that the secret fight in?
Yes.
I believe that he was in that.
Bloodsport. Yes,
I believe he was in that.
Yes.
He was in that fight. I do believe it. Mm-hmm. I really do. All right.
International Mail. I heard they stood the company back up just so that Dave could
Just
model for
For a
him.
model.
Yeah,
I mean, if anybody has if anybody uses mane and tail, it's that guy, because he has the most. He has the most luxurious hair.
do you think he gets it in 55-gallon drums, or
easy.
do you think
Easy.
you think he's buying it at
Easy.
the line, the checkout
what I
line
see?
at Tractor Supply?
I see him walking into a tub of milk, and like 4 naked Asian women, just combing his hair.
Okay,
he
so
doesn't even
back-
get to touch the water.
Okay, now that we gate out on Ninja Dave,
Hey, if there was a man that I might, hold hands with in the woods, it'd be him.
it'd be Dave.
It'd be Dave, because
Not to be confused with Ranger Dave.
No, I mean,
Have we ever introduced
what
the two of them?
I know Ranger Dave. Ranger Dave, I know you're still mad at me, but again, you two are a specimen of a man. But you're like an Einstein, right? You're like the old gray-haired guy that makes submersible submarines out of tabletops. So I'd probably hold his hand in the wood too, because I would not fear. I wouldn't be afraid, right? Because I know that his shoes would turn into rockets. His lapel would shoot some sort of chemical weapon.
Okay, so back to the FDA.
FDA. Wait, let's go to the bathroom first.
Okay.
No, I don't have a possum in the mattress at home. I rescue turtles.
You have turtles in the mattress at home?
Yes, I rescue turtles
Rescue them from what?
from the evils of vehicles.
So when it rains, or if for people that don't know, when it rains here, box turtles come out and assholes will weave across 2 lanes of traffic. It's like a sport. But also when it rains, snapping turtles. I don't know why, but they come out to the road, and you'll pick up a damn snapping turtle. Like, I'll step on its shell and grab it by the tail, and they projectile shit, but I'll put them in the back. So I had these 3 big fucking I'll bet they weighed 25 pounds in the back of the truck. I mean, they're huge. So we drive to Cedar
You got
Lakes.
snappers in the pond?
Okay, I hope not. We killed the one that was back there. If you dig a hole in Tennessee, a turtle will show up. Like if you dig a hole 4 feet deep, water will start filling in the hole. A turtle will show up, or a frog or something. So we had these turtles, these big snappers, in the back of the truck, and I drive, and I'm going to let them go out in the pond because I'm going to save them. And I'm looking as I turn into the cedar, into the neighborhood there, and the turtle has climbed up and out of the bed of my truck. And I'm like, I'm not messing with this thing. He can get in this ditch and get back to water or whatever. When we got to the house, all 3 turtles were gone. Like, I don't know. They jumped out on the way there. It's 14 miles.
The cool thing about snapping turtles, I don't know. I'm a weirdo, I guess.
There's 7 kinds of meat in them.
But snapping turtle, unlike a box turtle, A snapping turtle looks like a fucking dinosaur.
It does.
It looks
It
like
smells like you would think it smelled too.
It looks just like a dinosaur.
So the old timers say there's 7 different flavors of meat in a snapping turtle. And if a snapping turtle ever bites you, you have to wait until it thunders. It won't release till it thunders. Have you seen some of the bites from snapping turtles?
I don't want to. They got that beak on them, man. I wouldn't want to.
Yeah, we had them at the shop. We had a couple of them that we picked up over by the tire shop, and we'd take them up there and then put broomsticks in their mouth, and they'd bite the broomstick handles in half.
Yeah, I don't want anything. I mean, again, a dinosaur. It's a prehistoric dinosaur hanging out with alligators.
But you're not picking up snapping turtles.
No, just box turtles. It's the lonely, sweet little box turtles that are trying to scamper across the road that I have to rescue.
And then you just take them to freedom.
I take them to freedom. Usually I put them on their path.
On their path. You put them on the other side of the road?
Yeah, I'll put them on their path. I'll put where they're going.
So it said they don't actually travel very far.
Yeah, it's supposed to be within a mile. Like they stay within a mile radius of their thing. So
when we first moved here, our jacuzzi bathtub was full of frogs and toads, and then they start to stink, so we let them go. But we did have turtles at one time in box turtles.
You got turtles up top, don't you?
Turtle in the pond, water turtles. They just show up, man.
Yeah.
Like all that mulch. When I start taking bucket loads out with the skid steer of the mulch, there's always turtle eggs in there.
Yeah, turtles.
We saw a turtle. We saw a bunch of baby turtles before the pond was even as big as it is up top. We saw baby turtles coming through, and we saw when I went out there, and the reason I saw it is because that damn thing it was this big, and it was the size of a dinner plate, and it's climbing the fence to get in.
I know this is a topic that's dear to my heart. These lovely box turtles, but you were going to talk about Soylent Green.
I was going to talk about hot dogs.
Yes.
So a bunch of hot dogs were tested. I don't know who did the test, where it came from. They found that 2% of the they tested they tested like every brand of hot dog that they could go buy. And 2% of all the hot dogs they tested had human fetal DNA. I don't know how they knew it was fetal versus human, but that's what they're saying. It had fetal tissue in it. And they said that 20% of the vegan hot dogs, I don't know how many hot dogs are vegan hot dogs out there, but 20% of the vegan hot dogs had actual meat in them.
Well, again, you got a couple things going there. First off,
the mob is disposing of bodies.
No, first off, hot dog. Hot dog's always been the Soylent Green of food. I mean, it always has. It's always been the thing where all the leftover stuff went into. It's never been purposely built. Like, nobody's ever been like, you know what we should do? We should take steak and turn it into a hot dog. No, they've been like, what are we going to do with all this stuff on the floor? I don't know. Scrape it off your shoes, throw it up here. We'll throw it in a tube. People will eat it. That hot dogs have always been that way. Sorry to destroy your love for hot dogs, but again, it's always been the Soylent Green of food. But the issue, especially for vegan hot dogs, right? If you've been eating vegan hot dogs, you've probably always been eating meat, is hot dogs are all made in the same place, right? So when they flip the switch and they're like, all right, boys, time to make some of them liberal hot dogs, and the liberal hot dogs start going down the conveyor belt, they're scooping up they're still scooping up all the stuff that's on the conveyor belt and all. You know what I'm saying? It's not like they go through with a pressure washer.
I bet they would have to have some kind of thing like made. If you have an allergy, this thing was made where this other shit's made. I'll bet they'd have to have some disclosure label.
There probably is. Well, nah. Because come on, John, who's gonna be like, got a hot dog allergy? Like, it's easy to be fake and be like, I got a peanut allergy, right? Because peanut is a thing that you can.
There was no peanut allergy.
Yeah, until we created it. Yeah, we created it. Sorry, we didn't create it. Mothers of America created a peanut allergy. But again, it would be hard to be like specific hot dog. So why would they need a thing? Because what you would be saying is a vegan might be allergic to meat, right? But if you're eating a vegan hot dog, you're going to be like, oh my God, somebody opened a pack of meat in the house and that's why I'm sick. You're not going to think about the vegan hot dog.
Did you see the World Economic Forum guy? This was a year or two ago, but it's come back up, talking about, we need to reduce people eating beef and blah blah blah.
We can do it through.
We can do it through the.
Yeah.
There's a disease called the Lone Star. It's spread by a tick, and it makes you allergic to red meat.
Red meat, yeah.
And we could use something like that.
Yep. Anytime a government official is talking about basically.
Well, that's
poisoning,
actually Klaus.
poisoning.
That's Klaus Schwab's right hand man.
But anybody who is actually talking about poisoning people, that person should be arrested. Like he just the mere idea that he's like, yes, we're going to secretly inject a bunch of people with this thing in order to keep them from eating. He's not talking about, again, no one on the panel, not Klaus Schwab, not Bill Gates. None of these people are like, hey, you know, it'd be great for America if everybody stopped eating meat. In order to stop eating meat, I'm going to inject myself with this experimental vaccine so I will no longer eat meat. Bill Gates is still going to be eating steaks, guys. He's talking, again, this is the same scenario as being able to go see Yosemite Park or wherever. It's you. It's you they don't want to eat meat. Not them. They're going to still be eating steaks.
The crazy thing is they're even telling people now.
Yeah, they're even telling. They're forward right out, and I think it's, again, this is part of that conversation we had about treason, federal employees committing acts of treason within the United States. The problem with those organizations, even the Nazis, okay? If you think about the Nazis, they didn't day one are like, hey, these are all the things we're going to do.
No, they actually rounded up all those people, put them on ships, and sent them to the United States.
Not even that. What I'm saying is the Nazi Party in general, when they started, they were like, hey, we're just going to fix the government. We're just going to fix the welfare system. We're going to fix the economy, right? And then somebody went, and then one lone German in the Nazi Party went, and we're going to get rid of all these, and nobody said anything, right? Nobody said anything. Nobody was upset about it, and so they're like, well, that you not saying anything about it says that it's okay for us to do it.
You know where they started?
No, they started with the mentally ill, the gypsies.
They cleared the asylums, cleared the prisons.
That's where they started.
Then they went after homosexuals, and then they went after prostitutes, which is interesting because they had a lot of homosexuals themselves, and all of their guys were. That's how they knew where all the brothels and prostitutes were. They were using them themselves. Well, they were intermingling.
The guy who was in charge, who was in charge of the brown shirts, this is before the Nazis took power, was. The guy who was in charge of basically would have been the SA back then. He was a very openly homosexual man, and when they were getting ready to take power, it was Goring and Goring and Himmler.
We're talking about Night of Long Knives.
Yeah, Goring and Himmler that were like, "Hey, this guy has way too much power. We need to get rid of him." And he was Hitler's like, dude. You know, him and Hitler were Pizos, probably side lovers, but
there's speculation of that.
Yeah, it's probably side lovers, and Night of Long Knives. That's when they went and they purged all the people that they considered undesirables. He was one of them.
Useless idiots is what they call them.
He was one of them, and Hitler was actually there when they arrested this guy. He was found naked in bed with his lover. And Hitler was like, "Put your damn clothes on and come outside, or I'm going to have you shot." And the guy wouldn't get dressed, and so he's like, "Kill these fools," and they killed him. I think the weird part about that situation is I think that Adolf in that particular situation, because they were boys, right? They had. It was the SA that gave Hitler the power that he had, right? I think that Hitler was there to save him. I think Hitler was there to be like, okay, put your clothes on, come outside, we're going to dress you down, I'm going to remove you from the position you have, but I'm not going to kill you. Right? I think that's why Hitler was there. on that night. But because he wouldn't get dressed, he made Hitler look bad in front of his boys. So it was like, kill them all, whatever.
So they had actually rounded up a bunch of the Jewish people, put them on ships, and sent them to the United States. I believe they were turned away.
They were turned away.
At,
We turned
at
them
Ellis
away.
Island. We didn't
Yeah,
let them
we
come
turned
in.
them away.
And that's when they started, you know, I after that, I believe that was before
That was before
the ghettos and everything, and then they started
well
pushing,
before
yeah.
any of that stuff. But again, silence is consent. You know, silence is consent, and we were very silent prior to 41.
Well, you're seeing it right now. I mean, even the last 3 years, everybody remained silent and didn't push back. They just went right along with it.
Yeah, silence is consent. So I mean, terrible. That was a terrible legacy, in our history.
We were just I was just doing my job. That's what they
Yeah.
said when they interviewed all those people.
We actually, you know, it was the powers of Britain, France, the United States. We were the ones that actually created the environment that brought Adolf Hitler to power. So what are you going to do?
Well, Adolf Hitler went in and actually fired his gun in Parliament. He was on the Parliament or whatever, right? And he thought he was going to take over. They ended up putting him in prison. He was in prison, I think, 3 years. That's where he wrote Mein Kampf. And people were just tired of that shit. And if you look at what was happening there in that time, it's very similar to the environment in the United States right now. And there's some speculation that the pendulum has swung and is actually on its way back right now. And the people that are in power right now are going to do everything they have to possible to stay in power because they know that they are facing execution if they lose power.
Maybe calmer heads will prevail and they will just exile them out of political life, meaning because if you take a look at
you can't really go much further without them expiring. I mean, if you look at fucking Mitch McConnell and Pelosi and all of these,
you take a look at the hierarchy that is running the show, that has been running the show for the last 50 years, they're all done. This is the last hoorah for them.
Have you seen?
Can AOC keep the party together? Not a fucking chance. Not a fucking chance can AOC keep the party together. So the question will be, what happens?
AOC's not even part of the party. She's so far.
Yeah, she's
her squad or whatever the fuck it is.
That's what they believe the party will turn into. But again,
you see, Whoopi Goldberg has COVID too now.
Whoopi?
Yeah.
Oh, poor Whoopi.
Yeah, Joey Bayer was on there. I just saw while I was waiting. TikTok's smart when you're loading a video. You have to stay on the platform. So I just do this, you know, while I'm waiting for the video, and that's where I had seen that.
Poor Whoopi.
Whoop whoop.
Didn't The Rock get it?
I don't know about that. He was just with. I picture The Rock as big old like Hawaiian tribal tattoos. What was that Fast and Furious where they were on the island and he had to get his brothers together and they did the Samoan dance and they had to fight with spears and shit? You don't know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't.
That's
watch
how I
any of
picture
those.
The Rock. But then you see Rock, and he's kind of taking second fiddle to Oprah, and he's just very solemn, and he looks smaller in the picture and everything. And she's like, "We need you guys to all donate to all these people in Maui. Bitch, you make more money than fucking everybody's ears hearing this combined." She's like, "Sometime in the future, I'll make a sizable donation once we realize once we see what the rebuilding looks." Yeah, you mean once you can buy the rest of the fucking island?
Did you see what happened though?
What? The pushback from that video?
Those two got tore the fuck up.
Yeah.
They got ate up like a football bat. So bad that they get their asses whooped, which is great. Oprah deserves it. So does The Rock. Rock, you are a punk. You're a punk for just being in the video with Oprah Winfrey.
There's people trying to defend her, saying she was trying to come out against Tom Hanks.
Yeah, bullshit. She was providing young girls to Epstein. Fact. It's a fact that she doesn't even deny that. So, fuck Oprah Winfrey.
And Weinstein and all the rest of them.
And fuck, you know what, Rock? Yeah, you're a good actor, but you are a terrible person for even being in a video with her.
He's not a good actor.
I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, no, he's all right.
I enjoy his movies, but it's not.
Yeah, he's not doing Shakespeare. Again, They got beat up so bad that Rock.
Didn't The Rock come out and apologize? I know John Cena did too. I thought The Rock came out and said some shit in Mandarin too.
I don't know.
That's when he came out all solemn and supported Biden.
The Rock had to do a sizable donation after the video. That's how bad he was getting his ass whooped.
Who did he donate it to? The fucking Red Cross?
Who knows?
Not those people.
Yeah, not those people. Because the reality is, what everybody on Maui needs, what all those people need, is their next mortgage payment paid. Okay, that's all they need. They just need their next mortgage payment made so that the banks won't take that. So the banks won't foreclose on them and take their goddamn. So examples like the federal government. Joe Biden doesn't have to send $1. He doesn't have to send $1 for relief efforts. All Joe Biden would have to do, tell the FDIC, hey, until this is fixed, until we have a solution, no mortgage payments. No mortgage payments. That means all the Hawaiians get to keep their land. We're just not going to do mortgage payments until we figure out how we're going to solve this problem. But what's going to happen is those mortgage payments are still going to come due on the 1st. And those people there are not going to be able to pay for a home that they can't stay in. The banks are going to foreclose on those. Oprah Winfrey or one of those other fucking retarded
corporations,
1%ers is going to buy that fucking piece of property from those Hawaiians, and they're going to steal that land because that's what they want. They want to steal that land from the Hawaiians.
Anything more to the blue roofs? Have you heard anything more?
Okay. This is actually funny. You may get it in your Facebook feed, but I get home building stuff in my Facebook feed all the time. And one of the things I get in my Facebook feed all the time is re-roof your house. And it's never been a blue roof.
Right.
This month, their ad is blue roof.
We know a guy, he'll be at Self-Reliance Festival, works at a building supply place.
Yeah.
And he forwarded me an email that had come through, I don't know, a week ago, about a specific color of blue and how they're discontinuing it and they're bringing in this other blue. So make sure you fucking don't commingle your materials.
I think that from a business perspective, if you're a re-roofing company, from a business perspective, blue roof meaning something or not meaning anything, you would be stupid not to start advertising these blue roofs because you're going to have all kinds of people who are going to be like, well, better to be safe than sorry, right?
Doing it anyways,
the issue is it's a spectrum. So it's a spectrum within the ultraviolet light source. And so the laser can be tuned. So it can be changed. So I don't know if it honestly, I don't know if it matters.
So are you of the belief that there could have been some laser play happening in Maui?
Yeah. I mean, because the issue is, again, things were specifically targeted.
I'm with you, man.
And if you have a weapon system, the weapon system needs to target something.
Do you remember when you said that there was the big 747 or whatever, and it was from part of the Star Wars program when Ronald Reagan was in office? That night after you said that, sitting here while these phones were here, when I was scrolling through Facebook, that picture came up. I sent it to you, and now there's a bunch of photos of smaller planes also with these things on.
You know what's crazy about that is, again, originally, that system, that laser system, was designed. The idea behind that system was you were going to use these 747s with these lasers on them to shoot down intercontinental ballistic missiles, right? And so when you look at any of the design prints, or even the mock-ups that they did, the laser is on top of the 747.
So this one's on the bottom.
The laser's on top of the 747.
So that has to be above the missile. That's what I thought when I saw it.
On top of the 747, so it's pointing up because those ballistic missiles go into the stratosphere. The actual aircraft that they have now that has that laser pod on the front of it it's not really orientated in an upward direction. It's orientated in downward
ground.
direction. So, again, a laser as a weapon to take out ballistic missiles would also be a laser as a weapon that would take out other type of objects. But it's just interesting that we are no longer interested in ballistic missiles.
Do you think there's some elite madman running around with this thing? Or do you think they all belong to the Air Force?
I don't know. Because the problem with the Air Force,
Somebody would talk.
the problem with the Air Force is the ground crews, right? You don't just there's not a secret bunker that two guys get out of their limousine, climb into this plane, fire it up, and fly into the sky, right? It's when you're talking about an aircraft that big, you're talking about a pretty big ground crew, a lot of people involved. Now, does the ground crew, like for example, that aircraft in particular, if that aircraft is taking off, let's say it goes on flights once a week, does the ground crew in particular know what the aircraft is doing? No, they're just getting, they're fueling it up, they're getting it ready. It's supposed to go from point B to point C. The interesting part about that aircraft, though, and this is why I said this last time, is it would still have all the identifying characteristics of every other aircraft within the inventory, meaning you should be able to identify that aircraft. And if you can identify that aircraft, there are individuals who spend hours upon hours tracking everything that flies.
Yeah, Monkey Works said that none of that information was there.
We should be able to identify every aircraft that was over Maui during that time period. So,
do you know that dudes are over there flying drones?
And they're shutting them down.
They're shutting them down. They're shutting them down. Not only are they shutting them down, those are registered pilots, and fucking feds are coming to their houses and fucking having conversations with them.
Yeah, because they don't. There's
why are they so fucking worried about?
Because there's something else that has gone on. That's why.
Right. What is it?
Well, I mean, that's my conspiracy theory, and it's a little bit out there. But my conspiracy theory is this is a retaliation from the Chinese. That the Chinese were like, "Hey, we have one too, motherfuckers." That we have been using certain classified systems to randomly change things in China.
Yeah, China says we're flooding them.
And the Chinese are responding by saying, "Hey, look, this is what we got. Go ahead and tell everybody it was us, and we're going to show all the stuff that you're doing." Because our government is
corrupt,
inept, evil at best. So, it wouldn't surprise me one bit if that's why this is all being covered up, or not necessarily covered up, but being closed off. The other thing too is, I think the other reason why they don't want anybody to be able to get in there is because a lot more people died than they're saying.
I'm hearing 3,000.
I mean, it could be. It could be because they were blocking people from leaving. All the kids were home.
Have you seen the pictures? And you saw this in California too during some of the fires. There's pictures of vehicles that are literally completely melted down in grass fields, and the grass didn't even catch fire.
That's the same thing that happened in Maui. That guy was showing what's his name? The realtor?
Yeah, Maui Real Estate. Hawaii Real Estate.
Hawaii Real Estate. 2 cars in the middle of a grass field, grass no more than 3 inches high. Both of those cars lit up, melted aluminum on those cars, but the grass did not have enough fire the grass was not hot enough to completely burn all the grass off. It just burned a circle around where the cars are.
Now we're not as humid here probably as Hawaii. I don't know. I haven't spent time in Hawaii, but I mean, you saw when I was torching weeds, barely touched the mulch, and when we came in the next morning, Tyler's like, "Hey, everything out front's on fire."
Yeah, but again, the cars themselves could not generate enough heat to do what the cars are doing.
And there's a lot of question. People are like, well, asphalt melts at, aluminum melts at 1,400 degrees, whatever it is, and asphalt melts at 345. I'm sure Bob will correct us on that. But people on the live last night said, well, a lot of the base and a lot of the material used in Hawaii is actually from lava rock, and then from shells also. So it has a high, and maybe that explains it away.
Well, it doesn't explain the
blue tar, the blue umbrellas and shit.
It doesn't explain the cars though.
Correct.
It doesn't explain how a car can burn hot enough that it melted the aluminum, but not hot enough to catch the umbrella on fire. Now, if you were using, it's like think of it like this. Think of it like a microwave oven. Okay, if you're using a laser that is specifically aimed at if you're using a laser that's specifically aimed at this bottle,
well, it wouldn't melt it because it has this blue cap.
I know. But if the cap was red, if it was Coke, and you shot that laser here, you could heat this up. You could heat this bottle up to the point where this bottle would completely melt, and the table would not be scorched. Same concept. If you have a weapon system needs a target. Cars are an easy target, and that's why all the cars were burnt up, except the blue ones, which is weird. I mean, that blue. If you look at the spectrum that those lasers operate in, the blue is outside the spectrum, so the laser wouldn't even see it.
Yeah, there's guys hitting.
It would see it, but it wouldn't.
There's guys on social media using lasers, hitting blue stuff, and it's not doing shit.
Because it's outside that ultraviolet spectrum, so it wouldn't be able to heat up that item. So again, I don't know. It's a crazy, crazy, mad world we live in, but until there are real consequences, evil will continue to do evil. I mean, again.
Well, I think all the people with the power to do something like that knows everybody else's secrets.
Yeah, but the consequences have to come from the masses, meaning until we rise up, pitchforks in hand and torches, and go burn the castle down, they're going to continue to do evil. It's just because we're letting them do it.
Well, I think that's why they're taking people that are somewhat public figures and punishing them publicly,
of
right?
Course.
Like the 30 years for the Proud Boy guy.
Yeah.
Do you know that the Proud Boy dude actually was a confidential informant prior? He was already a turned asset.
Yeah, and there's not a single video. There's not a single video of him on January 6th telling people to go into the Capitol. But the video.
Well, he wasn't there.
The video.
He wasn't in D.C.
The video of the person who was actually telling people to go into the Capitol for 2
federal
days
agent.
Was not arrested. That's very interesting.
Who's that?
Ed Getz or whatever.
Got it. Okay.
That dumbass.
So you did have a lot of people at the Capitol building, and somebody was like, "You guys should go inside, right?" And then smash the window. The dude that smashed the window was a federal agent.
Yes.
The little lady, the people that went inside and just like looked around, they've arrested those people.
Yeah, of course.
They're still arresting people right now.
Yes, because you can't have a popular. What you have to do is scare the minions, right?
That's exactly
you don't
what
want to
this
have
is
a
about.
popular uprising.
And a lot of big content creators believe that they're punishing those people. They're coming after like Tim Pool, for instance, or Rogan or somebody, right? We're only a couple of years downstream from those guys if this continues.
No, see, the truth of the matter is they can't. When you think about Tim Pool or Rogan, there's some things they could do to kind of change content. Like, I don't know if you've been paying attention, Rogan's content has changed a little bit. There's things that they can do to change content, but they don't really need to go after Tim Pool. It's easier to get us than it is, if you kill all the small fries, the big fry's not that big deal. That's why, you think about who's our crazy mad conspiracy guy?
Alex Jones.
It took years and years for them to go after Alex.
He's back up there.
Yeah, he's back up there because
he's all over YouTube again.
Because the problem for the federal government or the powers that be is 90% of the shit that Alex was preaching turned out to be true. So again,
Every time somebody, I say that all the time, and people like that. No, they always push back. I'm like, give me something that wasn't.
yeah, tell me something that wasn't true. I mean, again, he had to pay millions and millions of dollars for the school shooting, but
Okay,
it's already come out that gay frogs.
But hold on, let's talk about the school shooting. Okay, the crisis actors. You had fucking family members on camera boo-hooing who were at multiple fucking shootings in multiple states that clearly were the same fucking people.
I don't know. I wasn't there. I don't know. I do know that I watched hours and hours of people walking in a circle into the building, out of the building, into the building, out of the building, walking in a circle. I don't know how that made any sense, but again, I wasn't there, so I don't know. I mean, there are crazy people in the world. There are people that are mentally unstable and that are going to do things like that. So is it out of the realm of possibility that a crazy dude goes into a school and tries to kill a bunch of people?
Of course it is.
You
just had a crazy girl boy go into a school and kill a bunch of people in Nashville.
Did it? Did she? Did he? Did she? Did he? Who knows? They haven't released that manifesto yet, have they?
They released another manifesto though.
Yeah, real quick. They haven't released that manifesto.
It's a trip. They were saying how that white supremacist, he turns out to be a fucking Asian dude.
Yeah, there's a protected class. So there's a protected class of individuals that are allowed to commit crimes, and not be punished for those crimes. There is a protected class.
Well, I think that those are assets.
Nah, just a protected class, right? We can't, think about.
Did you see California's? Think about what?
I was going to say, think about the people who are in charge right now, right? The people who are in charge right now don't want the bad news for their community, meaning,
I saw a wacko this morning on some short someplace, and I think she works at a clothing store or something, right? So the management comes in and is like, ladies, come on, let's get off the phones and go do this stuff. And she's like, I take it upon myself. I identify as thee and they. And when they say ladies, they're clearly not talking about me. So I just take it upon myself to keep doing what I was doing because I'm a they'dy. And then it shows Shim, whatever. She's got some, tattoos on her eyebrows and some, just a angry butch looking, I love it. I would love it if when you apply for a job, you use your pronouns. It just tells me that you're a fucking wacko. Like I thank you for identifying yourself. You fucking grimace looking fucking thing. So have you seen this red flag law shit going on?
I mean, yeah, whatever.
So it's only going to be law enforcement, and now they've broadened it in several states. Now it's clergy, it's educators, it's firemen. Mm-hmm. There's a doctors, and they have these secret hearings. Basically, if it can be any ex whatever, somebody that you haven't been with for years can just say some shit, and they have this secret hearing, and then they come to your house and they just take your shit away.
Yes.
And now they're putting in, I believe this is happening. They are putting it into a database that is a federal database now, where it was supposed to.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
No,
that doesn't surprise me at all.
Of course not. Have you heard any? So I see all these videos, right? Win for the Second Amendment, right? And I look at it and I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll watch the 10-minute video one of these dudes does, and I'm like, okay, yeah, it's a step in the right direction, but it's not the win that you made it seem.
Well, the other thing, I don't even watch those anymore because almost 90% of them are just clickbait.
Bullshit, yeah.
It's just clickbait. They're going to be like, yes, the judge in District Court number 2 said, fuck you, ATF, and then it's like, yeah, but we're taking it to the 8th district. It's not. It don't mean shit. It just none of these things. So
the FRT, I guess they just had a pretty big blow to over the FRT triggers yesterday. I didn't watch any of the videos, but there was it is not in favor of gun rights. Whatever it was just voted on. Are you aware of that?
I don't know. It has to do with they're gonna. again, none of these lower court arguments matter. So the FRT triggers in a lower court, and it doesn't matter because this all has to do with Chevron deference. It is an interpretation by the ATF. It is, even the FRT trigger is an interpretation by the ATF. So none of these lower court decisions even matter. It's when these things finally make their way to the Supreme Court. It's my opinion. It's not solid or anything, but it's my opinion that the Supreme Court is going to do the right thing. They're going to do the right thing. By the way, this is the right thing. And they're going to say, you don't have the authority to interpret shit. You are a fucking agency that's sole purpose is to enforce. So you can't interpret nothing. You can't interpret the word I. It's just I. You have no authority to do that. Only Congress has the authority to make laws. And I think when it finally gets to that point where the Supreme Court rules on Chevron deference.
Well, what the fuck are they waiting on?
Again,
is Chevron the name of a judge or something?
No, it's Chevron and deference is just the idea that they can interpret. So it's not that they're waiting on anything. That's the interesting thing about, or it's not the interesting thing. It is the uniqueness about being a republic, that you cannot use democracy. You can't use the popular vote to force something on the country itself. Whether it doesn't matter what it is. You don't like, I don't know. Let's say you don't like homosexuals, and you're going to create a law that says all homosexuals should be put in jail. You can't use popular vote to do that. It has to go through the system, and the system is long, and it takes time, and you have to prove your case. You can't just use popular vote. And that's what's going on here, is it has to go through the court system, meaning the lower courts have to see this case. They have to rule on the case, and it has to go all the way up to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court can't just, they kind of could, but they can't just take a lower court ruling and be like, hey, we're going to fucking do this. It has to work itself through the courts, because it might get to the Fifth Circuit Court, and the Fifth Circuit Court might go, yeah, fuck all you guys. This is the ruling. And the plaintiffs might all go, okay, that's the ruling. We're not going to go any further. We're just going to leave it at that. So that they have to wait for it to go through all the lower court decisions. Like the Supreme Court has already ruled on a couple things where they're like, hey, the lower courts have interpreted this wrong. We're kicking it back down to you. You are going to have to figure this out at the lower court level.
Yeah, it just seems like at the higher court, if they don't want to deal with it, or they don't want to be the ones to stamp it with their name, they kick it back down.
They do. Again, they get to pick. They get to pick what cases they're going to see. But this Chevron and deference thing, while it is getting pushed on the ATF, right? While everybody's talking about the ATF, this is not about the ATF. This is about all agencies, the FDA, the EPA, any agency, any regulatory agency. They are all interpreting what the law is. They don't have that authority to interpret. Only Congress can create a law. Their jobs, the EPA, the FDA, the ATF, their job is to enforce the law as it was written. And all of these organizations have stepped out of that and have started interpreting, because Congress, our Congress, is too fucking lazy to do their jobs. Okay, so again, when you have President Biden going, we need to get rid of bump stocks, or we need to get rid of assault weapons, or we need to get rid of whatever, and he's trying to use the ATF to do that, they're operating outside the scope of their mission. They're not authorized to do that. If they really, really, really wanted to get rid of, I'll say, bump stocks, all they would have to do is get Congress to write a law that says bump stocks are illegal. If that law passed, then the ATF can enforce said law. But what they're doing is they're using the ATF to interpret a already published law to create felons out of no felony, right? And so that's what the Supreme Court is going to
Has
rule
anybody
on.
been arrested over any of this new law shit?
I don't believe,
Why have we seen so many videos of ATF going to people's doors?
because it's again, it's the regulatory power.
To make the masses have
It's
fear.
it's the regulatory power, and so President, when you think about the Biden administration, they have to seem like they're doing something, even though they're not doing anything. So again, I am sure that the ATF got a memo from the White House staff that said, "Hey, you know what'd be cool is if you guys went around and checked to see if everybody who is buying guns keeps those guns." And so the ATF's like, well, let's figure out how we can do this.
So what I'm talking about is I saw some videos of ATF agents going to people's doors and asking about force reset triggers. I don't even know. I don't even. You could put one on the table, and I wouldn't even know what the fuck I'm looking at.
Yeah, because
I just know it because of these videos.
Yeah, but the force reset trigger, that was
fires on pull and then
release.
on release. Okay.
That, unfortunately, the reason why they're able to go door to door is because the companies collected the information necessary for them to go door to door. So instead of being like, I don't know who bought these fucking things.
Did they seize that information?
Here's the thing. It doesn't matter whether they seized it or not. The company kept the information.
Well, hold on. Let me defend the company.
There's no requirement.
Let me defend the company for a moment, though. When they raided my shop, they took all of my computers. Yes. QuickBooks had all of those invoices in there. And on the invoice, we could look it up from part number or we could look it up from customer, just like Shopify right now.
There are 100 ways. There are 100 ways for them to get around that. And FRT was not celebrating somebody's birthday and the FBI kicked in the doors and raided and took their stuff. This was announced. They knew this was coming down the pike. They knew this was going to happen.
Right, but if I got a phone call that said, "Hey, we're coming to audit you," and I just
it wasn't.
I fucking thermited my computer.
What? I don't know what happened. The computer burnt down. What are you going to do? I don't know. We did all. Oh, are you talking about the triggers? We did all hand receipts. The computers weren't working. There are many ways.
I would suspect using QuickBooks right now. Right, it's an online thing. I would suspect
that they have a backup of whatever it is that you're.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Some federal agency could get. They know everything, every keystroke we've ever made, whether we.
I get it.
Whether we burn it
again,
or not.
that is how they got those records.
They
went door to door.
Are you aware of this?
The problem is.
Yes.
The problem is, this is a rule interpretation. Again, this is a rule interpretation. It's not law. So when they come to your house and they're like, "Hey, do you have this FRT trigger? We're here to confiscate it or ensure that it was destroyed."
Right.
Fourth Amendment.
And if you admit to it, you're admitting a crime.
Fourth Amendment, they can't seize
Illegal
property.
search and seizure.
So again, there's
secure in my papers and things.
They are committing all kinds of crimes against the Constitution of the United States, attempting to do this. Again,
I don't answer questions.
FRT trigger. I know people are going to be like, one way or the other. It's a novelty, right? It's this novelty thing. It was no different than the bump stock. It was a novelty. It's not is it a little bit better than a bump stock? Yeah, but you're training yourself to a shooting style and standard that will degrade your ability to shoot accurately. So
if you use that thing and you're, let's say, steel target, right? Mm-hmm. Do both rounds hit the steel target, or
they'll usually hit? It just depends. Again, everybody shoots. It's. I'm gonna break a lot of toes here. Everybody shoots their AR-15s like they're shooting pistols. So if you shoot 4 rounds out of your FRT trigger and hit the target 4 times, that's only because you're at 20 yards. I mean, it's only because you're at 20 yards. And if you're shooting your AR-15 at targets, again, I know I'm going to step on some toes here. If your engagement criteria is the same engagement range as a pistol, you're not only you're wasting time, you're wasting ammo, and you're not identifying the strength of that rifle. The strength of having a rifle is being able to engage targets at further distances, so you don't have to worry as much about them being able to hit you.
But
if
the
Lone Star,
statistics, the FBI statistics for a sniper engagement is 75 yards.
oh, goodness gracious, that's
But my point is,
non-combat.
House to house, building to building, your average U.S. citizen, whatever they have those rifles for, it's not
Again, though,
meeting on the battlefield in the desert.
Again, even I'm going to tell
you, the rifle puts fucking people down where the pistol doesn't.
I'm going to tell you if that is your criteria, especially as a citizen soldier or as a armed citizen defending yourself. If that's your criteria, if you're thinking that you're going to go door to door, house to house, and you're going to be shooting people in their living rooms in order to secure your livelihood,
that's not what I meant.
You're ignorant, and there's no, again.
Somebody kicks your door in. Are you grabbing a pistol or are you grabbing a rifle?
Shotgun, period.
Okay. With a slug?
I realize that a pistol is a terrible weapon system. No, I'm double out buck.
Okay.
I realize that pistol is a terrible weapon system. It is a self-defense tool.
It's to fight your way to a rifle.
Yeah, it's to get to your rifle, but it's just a self-defense tool that is easily concealable, where a shotgun and an AR-15 is not.
Yeah.
So, again, I realize it's a self-defense tool. But once you decide in your head that you're going to game it up, and you need fucking body armor and helmets and night vision goggles and an AR-15, you're talking about a totally different type of warfare.
But you see Russia said that oh, we're not going to nuke Ukraine, we're going to nuke the United States yesterday.
That's fine.
Right. Okay. So let's say some EMPs go off West Coast, East Coast.
Yeah.
Nukes hit them, right?
Okay.
The rules change for everywhere in the United States.
100%.
The trash comes out, right?
Yeah.
Are you not going to be rolling around with body armor on at that point?
But again,
wouldn't you want everybody with you rolling around with body armor also at that point?
But again, that changes the type of fight you're in.
Yes.
You can't.
But I think that's the fight that the average American doing this, that is the fight that they perceive.
They're not ready for that fight.
Fuck no.
They're not ready for that fight.
But would you prefer?
No, I would. I would prefer 5 guys with I don't know, M1 Garands that knew how to properly operate and use those M1 Garands than 10 guys.
I got you.
10 guys dressed up for a fucking 25-yard square bay show and tell.
I got you.
Because those guys are going to fucking get ate up. Because again, it's about what you're doing. If you are an American and you are worried about what's coming, community is the most important thing. You have to have a community of individuals. That's important. Because again, you can't do it alone. Community is the most important thing. Defense is the only thing that is going to be successful. If you think that you're going to get in your fucking MRAP and go on the offense when there's a end of the world calamity or rule of law goes out the window.
My concern would be the dude with the MRAP showing up.
Right, which means it's more important that you are effectively managing a defensive base position, so that the minute that MRAP turns the corner a half mile down the road.
What would take that MRAP offline? Would a 50?
50 would definitely take it offline, but you could do it with 308s. Basically, an MRAP is no different than any other type of armored vehicle. MRAP needs to be able to see wherever he's going to go. Okay, so a 308 A 308 will put enough fucking damage on an MRAP so that they cannot see out of those fucking windows.
It will?
Yeah. It'll spider out those fucking... You can spider out those windows so they can't
I thought
see.
it just sits in there like
No.
the fucking gas station fucking...
No.
We shot some years ago.
You're thinking... What you're thinking of is
You know
God,
the
I know what
the
you're talking
bulletproof
about.
windows
Yeah.
at the gas station?
Yeah, that's different. That's a
They had
different
changed
material.
them out at a bank up the road in Kearney Mesa, right? And we were able to get a hold of a bunch of this stuff, and we took it out and shot it. I saw it shot with 308, and I saw it shot with 30-06, and the round, it didn't even fucking break the motherfucker. It just boom, the bullet was in there, like the piece of Lexan you can buy with the bullet in it. They didn't. I assume that's what those windows were.
I mean,
made
the
of.
reality is you don't even need at that point. You don't even need rifles. You could just use fucking water balloons full of paint.
And motor oil and sand.
They can't. If they can't see, they can't drive.
Have you seen all the videos of the dudes, all these smart cities and shit? And I don't know how prevalent it is, but the videos make it look like it's pretty prevalent. Dudes are out there cutting these fucking poles down with these.
As they should.
Yep.
Or
Cutting
you know,
down these video
what does it
camera
say?
poles.
Act
accordingly.
Act accordingly. Act accordingly. Again, there's plenty of things that you can do. There's plenty of things
We got
that
to
you
do a
can do to
shirt.
those.
We got to do that shirt. We got to do a series of those shirts.
That you can do.
I wish he would. I'd just buy his.
That you can render those vehicles.
By the way,
non-usable.
word is Wrangler Star's coming out to Self-Reliance Festival. He's going to be here
When is it?
October 14th and 15th.
I literally I don't know.
You're op 4 for the Homeland Patrol class. Homestead Patrol.
Are you sure you want to do that? Because none of you are going to make it out alive.
K9 Fortress Defense. You might not know, but there's been a clip. Like, we're just going to snatch you guys up. You're not ready for Homestead Patrol. Or, well, I don't know what you said. But K9 Fortress Defense is like, can I use dogs? I'm like, you're op 4 too, man. You're doing the snatching.
Can you see the problem is the problem is
Grab the snatch.
there's not a lot you can do with dogs.
Oh, I think he'd beg to differ.
No. What I'm saying is dogs are a great tool.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a good trained dog, they're
he
great.
has a muzzle thing for him.
Yeah,
that'll
they're
keep
a
it from
great
eating your
tool.
balls off.
But from a meaning from a dog on person scenario, there's not a lot you can do that doesn't require harm.
Correct. Rifle
So
or
I
shoot the dog.
I can't sprinkle a bunch of pepper on the ground and the dog's going to be like, yeah, I'm not playing. You have to be violent with a dog.
I wonder if you could OC the dog.
If the dog is good, no.
So he has these
I gotta go to the bathroom. Helmets.
dog helmets. So he has helmets for the dogs, and they have goggles and a muzzle. And he said the dogs learn really quick, though, that they can fuck you up by hitting you with this muzzle.
Yeah.
So what they start to do is when they're wearing the muzzles, they don't target the bite suit. They target your head. So you always have to protect your head. He said these things will hit you and literally knock you out with these helmets.
Those Malinois leaving the ground, getting in the air.
Have you seen the guys?
It's gonna hurt.
Have you seen the guys that kind of bend down and the dog runs up their back and then takes off?
Yeah.
And they're doing these like high jump competitions. They're like insane. Have you seen? And the dogs that will climb up and down ladders like a fireman. Like nothing stops these things.
The key there is
You better just kill that fucking dog when it shows up.
the key there is you have to identify that somebody's using a dog to find you. So again, whether it's a tracking dog, usually if you're in the woods and they're looking for people, the dog is going to be trained in tracking.
Every time I've seen a tracking dog,
It's usually a different type of dog.
And it's never like in peak physical condition. Its belly touches the ground.
But even the Malinois, even the Malinois, when you're you have to identify that is a real threat, and you have to trick the handler into following you, and then you continue to use double backs in order to trick the handler again, and then eventually you need to get into a spot where you can kill the handler, because most of the other people that are in the group, like when you see a dude holding a dog on a leash and he's like running through the woods and there's a bunch of people behind him, none of those other people know anything about the fucking dog. Like they don't know the commands, they don't know anything about the dog. It's that guy and that's his. So you kill the handler first. And if the dog is a meaning if I'm being tracked by a dude that's got a basset hound, right, because of their sense of smell, you kill the handler, and that will usually end that chase, right? If I'm being tracked by somebody that has a fighting dog, you know, a German Shepherd, Malinois, whatever, something that you could get tore up with, you kill the handler first and then attempt to kill the dog, because sometimes the dog, on the death of the handler, the dog won't. The pursuit is no longer part of the thing, and the people that are around him are not going to be like, "Hey, let's stay in the pursuit."
And like modern day law enforcement, if you kill one of their
same
dogs,
thing. Handler.
My point is, they charge you as though you killed a police officer.
If you kill a dog, yeah.
I'm surprised you don't see more people actually going after the officer rather than the dog.
Because usually, I mean, if you look at when they use the dogs. Usually the situation is contained enough that the handler is releasing the dog from an area where he's not
in Home Depot or whatever.
Yeah, where the handler is not really, not to say that they're not in danger, but the handler's not in as much danger, and the threat becomes that fucking speeding bullet that is flying towards you that's all furry and is going to bite you in the balls.
We had a friend that was in Oceanside, was a canine handler. And they responded to a Home Depot or Lowe's or something. And his dog actually found the dude on the top of the pallet racking all the way in the top. And that dog got all the way up there.
Oh, yeah. The dog, once that furry animal is released, it's going to usually find you. Right? It's usually going to find you.
Did you see in the interstate median state trooper, I don't know what state it was. I watched some of these First Amendment reviews or, you know, some of these cop watch videos or something, and it's been making the rounds, but it came back up. And this dude he was on the ground, hands surrendered, canine officer shows up, and the state trooper even said, "Do not release the dog." And the dude released this dog, and it bit the shit out of this fucking guy, and the guy was already pretty much in custody. I think he might have even been handcuffed when the fucking canine officer released him. So, of course, the canine is losing his job, and the fucking state or city's being sued, or
he might. You know, the other thing too is some of those guys have
yeah, you have to get your dog a bite, and
So I don't know.
Is that what you're gonna say?
Yeah, he might have
get
just
the dog
been like,
blooded.
Let it go, but you know, those, you know, their specific purpose, specific idea. So a dog is a good tool. It's a very good tool. Geese are a good tool also.
I have geese.
Yeah, because they will make a racket when people show up.
Yeah, yeah. If you're coming through the top of the property, you're
when people
hear
show
all those
up,
animals.
But a dog is a good.
The problem is we become complacent hearing those because my dogs bark all night long, every night, and the goose, every time there's something, it could be an owl, it could be anything out there. Even if I walk through the gate at night, all the barnyard animals are all going nuts up there. So we become immune to it, you know?
Yeah, you become complacent to things like that.
So if the time comes when you need that, you better have real eyes out there to see what that is. Back to community.
Outside of again, we're living a very day-to-day comfy life, right? We're living a very day-to-day comfy life. If rule of law broke down, the complacency of the geese going off wouldn't be a thing anymore.
Correct.
You would be like,
you would be there.
Let me see the camera.
Yeah, you would have somebody. Well, because the rules change, right?
Yeah.
You're not getting up at 6 o'clock to go to work at 7 o'clock to come home at 5 o'clock, right? The tax man ain't coming, so you're not going. You know, things change.
Yeah, and ideally, and this is the reason why I say community is most important. The computer is most important is you can't stay up 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and you know you ideally want to be able to have yourself a rotation where at all times at least one person is awake.
How many people would it take to secure this property?
This property?
Yeah. Which is what, 10 acre square?
In an ideal scenario, in a comfortable world, 20.
Yeah.
At least. Because you have to have a reasonable rotation, right? You have to have a reasonable rotation, and something the military doesn't do but probably should do is the rotation at night should be shorter than the rotation during the day, because it's just night and people are tired, and it only takes a minute for someone to fall asleep. So I mean, you know, a normal rotation is 4 hours, so you're up for 4 hours.
So what would you think? 6 people on LPOP in the evenings? 6
probably,
minimum?
yeah, probably. And then but at night, I would almost say that 3 hours or even 2 hours would be better, because again, nighttime is when people think nighttime is when people think they're the safest because you can't see. But we're living
You mean the bad guys think they're the safest?
bad guys and good guys. So
I don't think
even
that at
good
all.
guys think that when the sun goes down, you know, at 3 o'clock in the morning, people aren't thinking about intruders in the wire. They're thinking about sleep. So, you know, from that, in those crazy hours, so like I would say from like midnight to 6, you do a 2-hour shift or a 3-hour shift. That way, the guys that are out there are fresh, right? They're awake. They're not, you know, nodding and thinking about going to sleep. Because again, even the dudes that are on watch at 3 o'clock in the morning, people aren't paying attention. Like, they're not paying attention, especially if they've been out there for 3 hours already. They've been out there for 3 hours already, and let's say this rotation has been going on for a week, and that guy's been the 3 o'clock morning guy for a week. You could walk right past his ass. It's just the nature of the beast. That's why you would always want to you would want to shorten your wee hour in the morning time frame, so people aren't out there for a long period of time. And you would also want to make sure that Brandel is not always the 3 o'clock in the morning guy. It will suck because dudes are not going to get their sleep is going to be kind of fucked up. But in that type of environment, and those type of rules, for a lack of a better term, 4 hours of sleep is going to be good sleep. You're going to be like, fuck, I'm exhausted. I've been up. We've been, you know, filling sandbags. We've been hunting for fucking squirrels. I had the night watch. You're going to be exhausted. So that 4 hour sleep that you're going to get is going to be fucking real sleep. It's not going to be the toss and turn. You know, when you see videos of military guys and you're like, they can sleep anywhere. You know, they'll be on top of
your body when your body needs sleep.
When you're ready to sleep, when you have to sleep, you're going to sleep. And so it's doable. But again, you don't really want guys, to get complacent with their position or with whatever their slot is, and you don't want to extend those night hours, because that 4th hour, anybody who's ever done it, I know all you military guys out there, you know, 3-4 o'clock in the morning, that 4th hour is rough. That 4th hour, you're like, am I going to make it? Am I going to fucking make it?
What would you? So, real quick, when I walked in the gym this morning at 4:32, Brandel was in there working out already. So he might have been a 3 a.m. guy this morning.
Yeah, maybe. But he was working out.
So how would you set up defenses here?
But he is working out. And because he's working out, he's got a little bit of serotonin and adrenaline dump. Again, that's different than me putting him in a hole out here and say, sit in this hole for 4 hours.
I'm with you.
Don't make any noise. Listen to everything.
You can always squeeze your nuts when you're falling asleep.
Colonel Pratt, take your bayonet out and put it underneath your chin. You'll only nod off one time. So
you can stun gun yourself.
Yeah, it's a tough hole.
What would you set up for defenses here? What would you do? A tower?
No, I wouldn't do a tower. Tower's an easy target. You'd have to do.
But we can do other things in the tower.
You'd have to do primary. You'd have to do.
Yeah, I always think if you're in a tower, you're a target.
You have to do primary, secondary, and tertiary fighting positions, and you would have to rotate them all the time. And the other thing that you need to do is, if you're in a like I would do, like let's say you had three watch positions. I would set up 3 watch positions. So 3 positions.
Three layers or just three?
Three main positions with a primary. So it'd be primary, secondary, and tertiary. So you have room to move back. When the sun goes down, no matter what, and that's why I say three primaries. When the sun goes down, no matter what, you immediately move to one of the other positions. So you never occupy a daylight position with a night position, because they're using the daylight to identify all your hard points.
Hey, we need to bring that up actually before I forget it. I want you to continue with what you're talking about. But we've been having government installation, military installations actually being probed lately. We'll talk about that in a minute.
So you want to make sure that your nighttime positions are not the same as your daytime positions, because when I'm in the woods and I'm looking at Fort SOE, I'm looking for heavy weapons, machine guns, and your fighting positions.
None of those are here right now.
No, none of those are here. This is just Fort.
But we'll find them if society collapses.
If we have to build a camp 107. That's what I'm doing. I'm looking for those things. I'm looking for the.
Is that the MASH unit? What's 107?
A camp 107 is what the Special Forces guys put up
everywhere.
Well, it's not. It won't be 107. 107 is just a designation for it, but that's the one they used in John Wayne.
How come so many Marines go to the Rangers?
What? No Marines join the Rangers.
How come so many Marines go to Special Forces?
If you want to take a break, if the op tempo in the Marine Corps is too high and you want to take a break, you go to the Rangers.
Do you know about the horse that saved Korea?
There's always a super horse that saves somebody. Do you know about the bear, the Canadian bear?
Cocaine bear?
No, they had in World War I. They had a bear that would bring ammunition up to the front line.
I got a friend whose call sign is Cocaine Alligator.
That's nice. But how do you get a call sign Cocaine Alligator?
It was his football jersey name.
Again, there's usually a little truth in the name that you get. So, was he feeding cocaine to an alligator?
I don't know, but he's a big dude. I don't think he's ever experienced cocaine. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyways, and so you want to vary everything that you do, because people are always looking to see what the weakness is in your defensive posture. The other thing you would do, again,
would we do trenches?
You could do trenches.
Could we do tunnels?
Depends on how long tunnels are better than trenches. It just depends on how long it's been, right? Because a tunnel takes a lot more work than a trench.
Tunnel leaves a lot of dirt too. You're not running like 24-inch fucking culverts and shit. You're not rolling down on your belly in a skateboard.
But you're using all that dirt anyways. The reality is
to make berms,
to fill sandbags.
We could use gabions.
We could use who?
Gabions.
Well, yeah, you could.
If you don't know what that is, we're going to take basically like the mesh they put in concrete or cattle panels, and we're going to wire them all together into shapes. They can be round or walls or whatever, and then we're going to fill them with rock.
Yeah, you can do that. Again, labor intensive, requires a community.
Have them in place early.
Yeah, it'd be better to have them in place before than after, because you have the leisure. You have the leisure of using everybody now versus having to use half your guys. We could just filling sandbags and the other half watching to make sure that the boogeyman doesn't show up.
We could call it PT.
No, you don't have to call it anything.
No, we can shut all the sewers down.
Oh, yeah. And say everybody
at 10:30.
Everybody has to move these
for
sandbags
1 hour. Carry these sandbags.
Yeah. You could do that.
Yeah,
you could do that. Well, but again, it's just at what level. Initially, your biggest problem here is you do have a pretty big footprint, and unfortunately, it's kind of hard to do what you do and people not know.
Correct. Yeah.
So people know.
We put everything out on social.
Yeah. Anyways. So people know that you have chickens. People know that you have. So to a certain extent, as I would say from where you're at now, I would just attempt to support the community as much as I could. Meaning, for example, hey, if you come down to the bait shack, if you come down to the bait shack on Thursday, we're going to give away all the eggs that we have, right? And so people show up at the bait shack and they give you you give away all your eggs. It's going to do two things for you. It's going to create a little more community because people are going to be like, yeah, he's giving us eggs. And two, it's also going to give you an opportunity to glean information about your surrounding area without having to send guys out. Meaning there are going to be people who are going to come to the eggs that are going to be like, hey, so-and-so just got the
people talk.
Mahdi militia just rolled up so-and-so and they're stationed over here or whatever. People will talk to you, especially if you're giving them free shit. So there's a lot of things that you can do, but again, you have to establish community now. And what I'm saying is there's a lot of guys that have been watching a lot of videos that think that they're going to be running around with their fucking MVGs on, kicking indoors, running and gunning and doing Delta Force shit. And again, I say sit in your house to your best of your ability for 90 days. Don't fucking leave. Defend what you have, because everybody who's out there fighting is going to get killed one way or another. Doesn't matter, it doesn't matter if you have fucking
what was that show called?
A $42,000 pair of MVGs on your head and a fucking Daniel Defense super rifle. People are going to die.
What was the mushroom show? It's called The Last of Us. Is that what that was?
Last of Us, yes.
So they came around and rounded everybody up, and he just hid downstairs. And then he had the
down.
whole town. He had all the fuel. He had all the food.
His inability was community. That he would have been a survivalist in our day, and so he didn't have any community. And when they met him, he didn't want them to have community. It was his boyfriend that was like, hey, what's up? Call me on the radio and I'll leave you some fresh eggs outside the door. You know what I'm saying? It was his boyfriend that was trying to create the community, because again, you need community unless you have the ability, you have the real ability to hide. But even still, it only takes one person to stumble on your hatch, or you went into town to get something and they followed your footprints back or whatever. It only takes one person. So it's very hard when you're that individual survivalist to be able to maintain what it is you think. It's like, when you think about Bill Gates, Tom Cruise, all these rich people who've built these super bunkers, they're paying dudes to bunker up with them because they know that they can't survive without dudes. The problem is, if you're paying dudes,
they don't need you.
They don't need you. Well, maybe Tom Cruise, because he can use a samurai sword, a pistol, he can fly a plane. I mean, Tom Cruise. Hey, Tom, if you're looking for a sniper, I would more than happily hang out in your bunker because you can do some crazy shit.
Amanda's taller than him.
That's okay. That's good. That means he can fit in small places. You're the tunnel rat, Tom. Anytime we got to get in a tunnel, I'll give you my 45. You can go in there.
Means if he gets wounded, we can just carry him in a backpack.
I can carry you in a backpack. Yep, that's a good idea.
Like Yoda.
We
had Alan Webb. I don't know if you know Alan Webb. He's a trooper here now. He was part of Attack Response. We had a video or pictures of him in a CFP 90 pack. I don't remember whose back he was on, but
yeah. So Tom, if you're looking for a sniper, I'm old, but
I think we're gonna get Jay Gibson.
Okay, Jay.
You know Jay?
I know Jay.
I think that we should all sit down and do a podcast together
about Tom Cruise.
Sure.
I don't mind.
You know who has some Tom Cruise stories?
Who?
Pincus has some Tom Cruise stories.
Oh, I'll bet.
He was hired to infiltrate some of Tom Cruise's properties. And he Pincused on in there and met Tom Cruise.
That's the other thing too, is people don't...
I think it was Pincus. I'm pretty sure it was Pincus.
The people don't realize how vulnerable They really are. So like when if somebody was like sneaking on a military base, there's no military base that you can't sneak onto. Like there's no military base. Like the way military bases work is the way that maybe I shouldn't say this.
Hold on, we'll talk about that in a second. We were walking out of. I just bought a bunch of trees. I picked up a bunch more trees, fig trees and shit. And we were going through the parking lot at Lowe's or Home Depot or somewhere this weekend. And she's trying to come this way, and I'm pushing her this way. And she's like, "Why are we going this way?" I go, "Because it's the most direct route to the truck, and I'm carrying these trees." And she goes, "But that car right there could be somebody in that." I'm like, "I can see right through the car." And she's like, "That's where you could be abducted right there." And I'm like, "It's awesome that you're thinking this way, but I can see through the car." So it's just like, I'm glad that you're in the mindset.
How are they going to?
Well, I don't know what came up, but she was like, people always ask Amanda, like, women don't want to hear you and me talk.
Right.
That's why they're
they want to hear.
That's why they're fucking victims, because they don't fucking listen, right? So they want
to hear other
So they ask Amanda all the time, and she's like, "Look, you need to practice getting in. Like, if you come out and you've parked away from other cars and you're under a light or whatever, and you come out and there's a van right here by your passenger door, you should get in. If you're going to go to the car and get in the driver's side and then come across, because if you are right here and your door's open, they now can open this other door and funnel you straight into the van." And that's how, and they're grabbing people up doing that. So it's in her head. And I'm like, I appreciate that. If we're even going to do that, why don't we just go ahead and set the panic alarm off on the car and draw all the attention to that area also? Because if there's a dude in that van trying to snatch somebody, and the fucking car sitting there with the lights blinking and the fucking sign, he's going to drive off. Get big, get loud, get aggressive. All these women making all these videos about these dudes oogling on them and looking at them in the gym and stuff. Well, bitch, if you didn't want to be fucking, why are you talking to them? Like, this works really well.
I mean,
what the fuck do you want? Like, when you do that in a gym, it stops.
Yeah, but there's a point. There's a point where, again, if you don't want if you want to go to the gym and work out,
correct,
there are all female gyms that you could go and work out. And not only that, you could put on sweatpants. The reason why he's looking at you is because your camel toe is sticking out.
Yeah, you address it, and what she means is, it's not that she doesn't want to be looked at. She doesn't want that guy looking at her.
Yes, of course.
Yeah,
that is why she dressed up like that. Is because she wants everybody to stare, but she didn't want Brandel to stare because of his face tattoos.
When I go to the gym, I'll wear headphones, right, so people don't come up and talk to me.
Yeah.
And like, we hired a kid out of the gym. I'm like, "Hey, I see you here all the time, and I feel like if you can get to the gym every day, you probably can get to work on time every day also," right? And we hired this guy, and he's like, "Man, I always wanted to talk to you guys. You're in here all the time, but you just kind of had this like fuck off attitude." I'm like, "Yeah, well, I mean, my hoodie does say fuck off. Like, it says it on the hood. Fuck off.
You're there to work out, not social. Yeah. It's not a social club."
Yeah, and I mean, whatever. Yeah. I guess there's been over 100 instances of Chinese people actually infiltrating bases or trying to get onto bases and government installations, as far as even caught in scuba gear around military installations. Do we have hotels on base?
Yeah.
I never knew that till the other day. Base. You have multiple instances of Chinese people trying to come on base who have booked hotels, but they have no reason and no to be on base. They're trying to get on base to stay in these hotels. You have Chinese people who have literally run the gate. I thought we just like smoke motherfuckers when they run the gate.
It just depends. And a lot of gates aren't even manned. No, they're manned, but they're not manned by military personnel anymore.
Have you ever seen the barriers?
Yeah.
I saw those deploy, but they seem pretty slow.
No. They used one at Camp Pendleton, blew the car up.
I saw that. I did see that, like within 6 months ago.
Yeah, I am sure that there was a, no matter what, I'm sure that there was 100% safety stand down. All the MPs and all the security guys had to go to this fucking safety stand down, and they were like, "Hey,
don't be fucking around with this thing.
It's nice that it worked, but you know what? Maybe we shouldn't use it because bad optics." Everybody's always worried about optics.
Did we ever hear what that was?
I don't.
We spoke about it when it happened.
I don't.
Yeah,
I don't
the car blew up.
Yeah, they fucked that car up. But again, whatever.
What's it cost to get that?
You were doing something wrong. Oh, what it costs you or what it costs the government? It probably costs the government $20 million. I bet we can get one. Yeah, I bet we can get one for, $100,000.
What power is it?
Oh, it's got to be hooked to the grid.
So what if your electricity's out?
If the electricity's out, there's other things that they're going to do. They're going to shut the gate down because they all use those stupid live scans now. So they're going to be like, sorry, can't come in. Stay out. Unless you have they'll probably, anybody with a DOD, with an active ID card, they'd probably let in. They'd probably do manual checks like they used to do in the old days.
I wonder if we could energize that thing and just put the barriers up and leave them up.
Yeah, they can control them. They don't have, it's not like it's just like it's a foot pedal that they spring up and then they have to do some magical thing to get it down. They can close those gates anytime they want. They can put those up. Like if you go up to Clarksville and you drive the length of the front gate, I believe, and that might not even be the front gate. I just know when you're going off of going out of Clarksville onto the base, that one gate that's there that we always go through, that might not even be the front gate. But there's like 4 other gates, and they have those all Jersey buried locked down. So it's something they can control. They're just like raise the DEFCON, and they can put that up anytime. So it could be used like a nighttime barrier or something.
Would that keep an MRAP out?
I'm thinking of the one at Camp Pendleton.
We're talking about these like 12-inch fucking chrome plated metal rods that lift up out of the ground.
You're talking about the rods versus the whole concrete barrier that comes up.
Yeah, I'm talking about these rods that lift up.
No, an MRAP wouldn't go over those. It would get stuck on them. It's not gonna. You're not gonna take an MRAP and be like, charge, and knock those things over, because it's going to fuck your MRAP up.
Frisella just bought an MRAP. He said he's having a big, giant fucking snow plow put on the front of it. Like for deflecting cars.
Oh, okay, for deflecting cars. I'm going to say, Frisella, there are much cheaper snow plows out there, so why don't you buy a snow plow?
Snow. It's like the double one, like on trains.
Buy a snow plow and bring the MRAP down here. You need to look at... if Frisell, I know you're not listening to this podcast, but if one of your friends is, you need to actually go look at MythBusters. MythBusters built a deflector actually to move cars. So they took a snowplow.
Well, he's really doing it for like specifically protesters and shit.
Well, either way, they specifically modified this thing so that it literally just throws cars. So if it'll throw a car, it'll throw a hippie.
They have those on trains.
They're a little bit different. So they had to modify it because like the ones on the trains, they actually go up and they kind of curve in like that. So to throw the snow out. Yeah, your car will get stuck on that. But watch MythBusters, look it up. They made one that works. Like it was launching cars.
Have you not heard of this? All these Chinese people that are trying to infiltrate bases. Mm-hmm. So it's been out there for a few days, and then I saw something today that the White House or the FBI actually made an announcement about it.
Is it true or is it not true? I don't know.
I don't know.
Because here's the thing. Maybe I shouldn't say it. I won't say it. Never mind.
Probably better that you don't say
it. Probably better that I don't say it about getting up. Like it again, it depends on the facility, right? What facility are you trying to get into? If you're trying to get into, I don't know, because like Camp Pendleton, for example. I don't know how anybody would get caught. Really?
Right.
How would they get outside of the fact that
don't go through the fucking main gate?
Outside the fact that they are, because again,
dude, we were on a military base and didn't know we were on the base.
The problem with a real military base. So far, I'll use Clarksville as an example, or Camp Pendleton, or Lejeune, or Fort Bragg. Is they're huge training facilities, right? They're huge training facilities. I mean, gigantic training facilities. They don't even have the personnel. Like when you think of like
they show up in their shanty towns out there. They didn't know were there.
To think like the Marine Corps. We'll just use the Marine Corps as an example. Camp Pendleton. If I said, "Hey, the base is under siege. You need to defend the base." They don't have enough personnel. The square footage of Camp Pendleton is too big.
Don't we have some military bases that you can't even drive across in 24 hours?
Is there anything? Maybe in Texas. Maybe there's some in Texas. Some big ones in Texas where they do the tank maneuver warfare. But I don't. Not 24 hours. That seems. I mean, well, if you're only going 5 miles an hour, maybe. But there, you get out in the Mojave Desert, there's some big fucking facilities where, if you're looking at, what is that? Is it Fort Ord? I think it's Fort Ord. That facility is so big. There are places on that facility. There are training maneuver spaces on that facility that dudes haven't been since World War II. Like it's just so big that there's no reason to go way the fuck out there in the middle of the desert to do maneuver work. You know what I'm saying? So they're
so big they can shoot without a backdrop.
Yeah, so big they can shoot without a backdrop. So it's an interesting idea. Like, if you think 29 Palms, every fucking night gets infiltrated. Every night.
What are they after?
Scrap. The scrappers, you can see.
It's like the Jawas from Star Wars.
Yeah, you can see the.
Or the sand people.
Depending on what training area you're in, there's an area which 29 Palms just got a whole lot bigger. They annexed a off-road vehicle park out there.
Why?
Just to make it bigger. I don't know why. Just so they have more maneuver space. But you can see the car headlights. Like you can, there's some.
I wonder if that's because I thought the King of Hammers is right outside of.
I think I believe it is the King of Hammers that they annexed.
Ooh, that's not good.
Well, they have to leave it open for the King of Hammers. So it's just a maneuver space. It's not I believe this to be true.
So they're not leaving live ordnance.
Yeah, it's just a maneuver space. It's not a blow up tank space. But you can see the headlights of those motherfuckers sitting up. There's area where there's a bunch of mines, and they will sit over there, and they're waiting for you to leave. And when you leave, they go out and look for whatever they can find.
What kind of mines?
They were. I don't know what kind of mines they were. I don't know what they were mining out there.
Silver, or
gold,
something.
silver, maybe. Yeah. So, yeah. But every night they're fucking out there digging through the trash. They, sometimes they catch them, sometimes they don't. But again, it's kind of not a. Okay, you're trespassing on a military federal installation. You're picking up trash. The more important, the thing that again, somebody's going to be like, that's not why they do it. More important thing is the Defense Department is less concerned with dudes driving across the training area and picking up empty ammo cans or whatever. They're more concerned with them getting live ordnance and hurting themselves, right? The last thing you want is a bunch of scrappers that get fucking blown up on the installation because it becomes a PR nightmare. So
I would think
that's really why they try to keep those guys out of there, is because they don't want them to be injured.
I think that would be a good training, for your security forces. Like, it was always fun for us to go out on base and get the S-10s to chase us around, and they always seemed like they were having fun chasing us.
The facility is so big, especially 29 Palms is a huge base. The facility is so big, and again, it becomes space that you can defend. So the facility is so big, you would be so thinly spread out that you really wouldn't be able to defend anything. Whereas if you hit those main arteries, you can control the flow of individuals that are coming on the base and kind of give a sense of security to the things that are important, right? It's main side that the MPs are really there for. Who gives a shit what happens out in the training area? Not that they don't, they do. But again, it's much better for those MPs to be cruising around main side and making sure Marines aren't throwing rolls of flaming toilet paper down onto each other from the barracks than to be out in the desert looking for scrappers.
Are they road pirates? Are they harassing and collecting on military base, writing tickets and bullshit? Or is it just more, don't beat up your wife?
Yeah, it's more just don't beat up your wife. I can't.
I feel like it's probably, I'll bet there's more female on male violence on base now than there is male on female.
I don't know. I told you about that in the 90s. 97, I think, or 96, sometime. 1-9 was still, I think it was still 1-9. I don't think it changed over to 2-1 yet. And, domestic violence was a thing, right? I mean, it is a thing. And men usually commit domestic violence, especially in the military.
Why is that, you think?
We marry too young. In the military, you marry too young to get out of the barracks, and you're full of testosterone. And because you marry too young and you're away all the time, your wife tends to be doing things that she shouldn't be doing, and it creates tension within the household, and the domestic violence happens. I mean, there could be all kinds of reasons.
I mean, we do take these kids and we train,
a lot of drinking,
we train them in violence.
Yeah, a lot of drinking, a lot of violence, a lot of that. So there's a lot of. I mean, we had a commandant of the Marine Corps who tried to specifically say you couldn't get married till you were a corporal, and his logic and reasoning was correct. But his method, he just got beat the hell up for saying, that you can't get married till you're a corporal. And his logic and reasoning was, hey, mature adult, that's when you should be able to get married, not when you're 18 right out of boot camp.
How old is a corporal typically?
Well, back then, a corporal could have been fucking 25 years old.
But one that's not fucking up.
No, not even fucking up. The Marine Corps, when I joined the Marine Corps, it was nothing new. It wasn't like, example, when I got to 1-9, my fucking platoon sergeant, Staff Sergeant Weston, was like in his 30s.
It starts with Lance Corporal.
Yeah, it starts with Lance Corporal.
Lance Corporal, Corporal.
Lance Corporal. Wait, it's
Private.
It's Private, Lance Corporal, Corporal, Sergeant, Staff Sergeant. But they were much,
and then gun,
and then gunny. They were much more. The rank structure was much more mature back then. Meaning, the guys in the position of power were usually older. Like my squad leader was 27 years old as a sergeant, or 20. He was 24, and he'd already been to barracks duty and all. He'd already hit all the. He wasn't a shitbird. He'd already done all the fucking things. Like you weren't getting promoted to corporal until after your first enlistment, if that. Usually what would happen back then is you would re-enlist, and then sometime in the next year you would get promoted to corporal. So it was nothing. It was nothing to have a Lance Corporal who had been in 4 years, like nothing. You'd be like, damn, he's salty, and he would be salty. He'd have a fucking do-rag on and shit, and be fucking talking like he was in Vietnam. You'd be like, damn, that motherfucker's been there. But again, what it did is, and I'm not going to say anything bad about. Well, they don't know what they're doing now. But what it did is it created a professional force that had more maturity in the lower ranks versus the way they promote now, which is much faster. And so that maturity is not there at those levels. And that's why when you see crazy shit happening in the military now, it's at a higher level. But because it's at the higher level because they promoted these guys faster and they never had a chance to mature within their ranks. We really should be doing it like, I don't want to say like special forces, but the way Force Recon used to be, right? It was nothing to have a gunny point man, right? So you knew that he was mature within that system. He knew the fuck what he was doing. It should be more like the Royal Marine Commandos. Anyways, long story, but I don't know what we were talking about besides sneaking into the barracks. I mean, how many you want to know? You want to know if the base is secure. You want to know whether your base is secure. I challenge you as a leader, Master Guns, Gunny, First Sergeant. get up at 3:00 in the morning, drive to your barracks, and sit in the parking lot, and just sit there and watch how many cars leave at Reveille. It'd be like rats leaving a sinking ship. They'd be coming out of the woodwork. So, whatever. It is what it is.
Are we ready to do some Patreon questions?
Yeah, let's do Patreon.
All right, let's kill this.
How long have we been doing
we'll
it?
Patreon
Jesus.
it up.
Like
3
19
hours?
Who wants to listen to us for 3 hours? That's crazy.